Have you ever noticed how much of your life is spent worrying about things that never even happen? You replay mistakes from the past, you stress about what tomorrow might bring, and in the middle of it all you forget that the present moment is unfolding exactly as it should. What if I told you that most of your struggles come not from life itself, but from believing that life is against you? Buddhism teaches us something radical. Act as if everything is already working out in your favor. Imagine how differently you would live if you trusted that every delay, every closed door, and every challenge was not meant to break you, but to guide you. Imagine the freedom of walking through life without the constant weight of fear, because deep down you know that the universe is shaping you, not destroying you. In this video, I'll share with you 7 powerful lessons on how to embrace this mindset, so you can finally relax, breathe, and allow life to reveal that it has always been working in your favor. 1. Trust the flow of life. Buddhism teaches us that life, much like a river, cannot be held tightly in our hands or forced into the shapes we desire. The harder you try to control every twist and turn, the more life resists you and the more frustrated you become. Think about trying to scoop up water with your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it escapes through your fingers. In the same way, when you cling too strongly to how you think life should be, you lose sight of how it actually is unfolding for you. Acting as if everything is working out for you means loosening that tight grip, softening your resistance, and learning to trust the natural flow of existence. Picture yourself standing in the middle of a river. If you fight the current, you will wear yourself out, splashing, struggling, and gasping for control. Yet eventually, the water will carry you downstream anyway. But if you allow yourself to float, you conserve your energy, you feel lighter, and you begin to notice the beauty along the banks, the trees, the sky, the sound of birds, all of which you would have missed if you were too busy fighting. Life works the same way. When you resist, every challenge feels like an enemy, every delay feels like a punishment, and every unexpected turn feels like chaos. But when you trust the current, even obstacles become part of the journey, pushing you toward places you might never have chosen, but that ultimately bring you wisdom, growth, and even unexpected blessings. Trusting the flow does not mean giving up or becoming passive. It means doing your best with clarity and sincerity, then letting go of the anxious need to control the outcome. You start to see delays not as disasters, but as divine timing. A door closing is no longer the end of your story. It is a redirection towards something that fits your path better. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin to ask, "Where is this trying to take me?" This shift in perspective brings peace, because instead of fighting life, you begin to walk with it, allowing it to carry you where you are meant to be. When you learn to trust the flow of life, uncertainty no longer feels terrifying. It feels like an adventure. You understand that the river knows the way better than you do. Just as water always finds its way to the ocean, your life, too, will lead you to where you are meant to arrive. The trust you place in the flow is what transforms fear into faith, confusion into calm, and resistance into surrender. And it is in this surrender that you finally discover the deep peace you have been searching for all along. 2. Reframe every challenge as a teacher. When difficulties come into our lives, the first instinct for most people is to complain, resist, or ask, "Why me?" We feel that life is unfair, that fate is cruel, and that we are being punished for something we do not deserve. But Buddhism teaches us a different way to see challenges. Instead of looking at them as enemies that rob us of happiness, we can choose to see them as teachers that help us grow. Acting as if everything is working out for you means that even the most painful moments carry a hidden lesson waiting to be uncovered. Imagine a seed buried in the soil. For that seed to grow into a tree, it must push through the dark earth, struggle against resistance, and reach toward the sunlight. Without that struggle, the seed would never break open, and the tree would never grow. In the same way, our challenges are the pressure that cracks open our potential. Losing a job might feel devastating at first, but later you may realize it pushed you to discover a new skill, a new career, or even a life purpose you would never have pursued otherwise. A heartbreak may leave you shattered, but over time you come to understand that it taught you self-respect, boundaries, and the value of love that is genuine. Illness may weaken the body, but it often awakens compassion for others and gratitude for the simple gift of being alive. Buddhism does not tell us to deny pain. It teaches us to embrace it as part of the human experience. When you reframe challenges as teachers, you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and instead ask, "What is this here to teach me?" This question transforms your suffering into wisdom. It gives meaning to your struggles and helps you rise above them with strength. Suddenly, life is not punishing you, it is guiding you. This mindset frees you from hopelessness. If every challenge is a teacher, then nothing is wasted. Not your tears, not your failures, not even your darkest nights. They all become lessons that shape your character, sharpen your wisdom, and prepare you for greater peace. By adopting this perspective, you begin to welcome challenges with courage, because you know they are here to lift you, not destroy you. The storms you once feared become classrooms, and the difficulties you once cursed become stepping stones. And when you truly see life this way, you begin to realize that everything, both joy and pain, is already working in your favor. 3. Detach from the illusion of control. One of the greatest sources of human frustration and suffering comes from the desire to control everything around us. We want life to follow our plan, people to behave the way we expect, and outcomes to match the pictures in our minds. Yet reality rarely unfolds in such a neat and predictable way. Buddhism teaches us that clinging to control is like holding on to smoke. You can try to grab it, but the tighter your grip, the faster it slips away. Acting as if everything is working out for you begins with the wisdom of letting go of the illusion that you must control every detail of life in order to be safe and happy. Think about how exhausting it is when you try to micromanage every situation. You worry constantly about the future, replay conversations in your head, and try to anticipate every possible scenario. This endless need to control drains your energy and creates more anxiety instead of less. It is like trying to stop the ocean waves with your bare hands. It is not only impossible, but also painful, because the more you resist, the more the waves crash over you. But when you stop resisting, when you step back and let the ocean move as it naturally does, you discover peace in simply floating and allowing it to carry you. Detaching from the illusion of control does not mean becoming careless or giving up responsibility. It means understanding the difference between what belongs to you and what does not. Your thoughts, your actions, your intentions, these are within your control. The weather, the past, the choices of others, and the timing of events, these are not. By recognizing this, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering. You no longer beat yourself up when things go differently than you planned, because you realize that not everything was yours to control in the first place. When you live with this wisdom, every outcome becomes easier to accept. If something works out as you hoped, you are grateful. If it does not, you remind yourself that life is not rejecting you, but redirecting you. This shift is powerful because it removes the heaviness of constant fear and replaces it with lightness and trust. You stop obsessing over, "What if this doesn't work?" and start believing, "Whatever happens, it will work for me in some way." This is the essence of faith, not the blind belief that life will give you exactly what you want, but the deep trust that life will give you what you need. Buddhism reminds us that attachment is the root of suffering. The more tightly we cling to how we think life must be, the more pain we create when life inevitably moves in another direction. By practicing detachment, you learn to live with open hands instead of closed fists. You give your best effort, but release the need to force the outcome. You move forward with intention, but without fear, knowing that what is meant for you cannot pass you by. And in this letting go, you discover freedom. Freedom from the endless cycle of worry. Freedom from disappointment when life does not follow your script. Freedom from the burden of trying to carry a weight that was never yours. Detachment allows you to finally breathe, to trust, and to live with the calm assurance that everything is unfolding exactly as it should, even if it is not unfolding exactly as you imagined. 4. Align with the present moment. One of the most common ways people suffer is by abandoning the present moment. Our minds are constantly pulled in two directions, backward into the past or forward into the future. We replay mistakes and regrets, wondering what we should have done differently, or we anxiously project into the future, worrying about what might happen. Very rarely do we actually live in the only place that truly exists, the here and now. Buddhism teaches us that freedom and peace can only be found in the present moment. Acting as if everything is already working out for you means learning to anchor yourself in the now, trusting that this moment, exactly as it is, has meaning and purpose. When you are trapped in the past, you carry unnecessary weight. You relive old wounds, you dwell on lost opportunities, and you allow regret to poison the joy of today. But the past cannot be changed. It is like a book that has already been written. You may learn from it, but you cannot rewrite it. When you are consumed by the future, you live in fear of things that may never even happen. You imagine disasters, build worst-case scenarios, and convince yourself that tomorrow holds only uncertainty and danger. But the future has not yet arrived, and when it does, it will arrive as another present moment. The truth is that the only time you ever actually live is right now. Think about the simple act of breathing. If you focus on your breath, feeling the air enter and leave your body, you are instantly brought into the present. In that moment, there is no past and no future, only the rise and fall of your breath. This is why Buddhist practice emphasizes mindfulness, to train the mind to stay where life is actually happening. By aligning yourself with the present, you begin to notice things you usually overlook. The warmth of the sun on your face, the laughter of a child, the taste of your food, the silence between sounds. These small details, often ignored when the mind is elsewhere, remind you that peace is not in the next milestone or achievement. It is here, in the simplicity of now. Living in the present does not mean you stop planning for the future or learning from the past. It means you stop allowing them to control you. You make plans, but you do not live in constant fear of whether they will succeed. You reflect on the past, but you do not chain yourself to regret. You learn to give your full attention to the moment in front of you, knowing that by fully living today, you naturally create a better tomorrow. When you act as if everything is working in your favor, you trust that you do not need to rush ahead or escape into memories. The present is always enough. This alignment with the present moment brings a deep sense of relief. You stop wasting energy on what is gone or what has not yet arrived, and you begin to use that energy to actually live. The present becomes your anchor in the storm. Even when life feels uncertain, you can find peace by grounding yourself in now, because the present is the only place where calm, clarity, and strength can truly be found. And when you make the present your home, you realize that everything has always been working out for you, because this moment, right here, right now, is exactly where you are meant to be. 5. See abundance instead of lack. One of the greatest shifts that happens when you act as if everything is already working in your favor is the way your eyes open to abundance instead of lack. Most people spend their lives focusing on what they do not have, what has not happened yet, and what others seem to enjoy that they themselves are missing. This mindset of scarcity keeps the heart restless, always searching for more, never satisfied, never at peace. Buddhism teaches us that the root of this suffering is craving, an endless desire that can never be fully satisfied, because the moment you gain one thing, the mind immediately begins chasing the next. But when you learn to shift your perspective, when you begin to see the blessings already present in your life, you discover that abundance was always around you, waiting for you to notice. Think about the simple things you often overlook: the roof above your head, the food that nourishes your body, the friends or family who love you, the ability to wake up each morning with another chance to live. These are not small things, they are extraordinary gifts. Yet, when the mind is trapped in lack, it dismisses these blessings as unimportant while obsessing over what is missing. A person with millions may still feel poor because their attention is fixed on what they do not yet own, while another person with little can feel rich because they are grateful for everything they already have. Abundance is not about how much you possess. It is about how clearly you see what is already yours. Buddhism reminds us that contentment is the greatest form of wealth. A mind that is content is free, while a mind that is always craving is enslaved. When you act as if everything is working out for you, you naturally begin to cultivate contentment because you trust that what you have right now is not a mistake. It is exactly what you need for this stage of your journey. Instead of thinking, "I don't have enough," you begin to think, "What I have is enough, and more will come when the time is right." This small change in perspective creates peace where there was once restlessness. The practice of gratitude is a powerful way to strengthen this shift. Each day, take a moment to reflect on the things you are thankful for, no matter how ordinary they may seem. The more you notice these blessings, the more your awareness of abundance grows. Gratitude transforms your vision. It turns your attention away from scarcity and opens your eyes to the richness already present in your life. Over time, you begin to feel supported by life itself because you see clearly how much has already been given to you. Seeing abundance also means realizing that opportunities are always present, even when they are not obvious. A delay may be protecting you from harm, a rejection may be guiding you toward a better path, and a failure may be planting the seed for a future success. When you live with the belief that everything is working in your favor, you begin to trust that even the moments that feel empty are preparing you for fullness. The universe is not depriving you, it is redirecting you. This realization brings a sense of security that lack can never give. Ultimately, abundance is not measured by numbers or possessions, but by the state of your heart. When you stop chasing endlessly and begin appreciating deeply, you live with a richness that cannot be taken away. You carry peace wherever you go because you no longer see yourself as lacking. You see yourself as complete, supported, and surrounded by gifts. And when you live in this state of abundance, you align with the truth that everything indeed is already working in your favor. 6. Live with faith, not fear. Fear is one of the strongest forces that shapes human behavior. It whispers in our ear, convincing us that danger is around every corner, that the worst is always waiting for us, and that we must constantly prepare for failure and disappointment. Fear tells us, what if it all goes wrong? What if you lose everything? What if you are not enough? And the more we listen to this voice, the smaller our lives become. Opportunities slip away because we are too afraid to take them. Relationships weaken because we are too afraid to trust. Dreams fade into nothing because we are too afraid to try. Buddhism reminds us that fear is only a product of the mind. It is not reality. Acting as if everything is working out for you means choosing to live with faith instead of fear. Faith in Buddhism is not blind belief. It is rooted in wisdom and understanding. It is the trust that life is not random, that every ending makes way for a beginning, and that even pain can carry hidden blessings. Faith is the quiet voice inside that says, even if I do not understand why this is happening right now, I know it will lead me somewhere meaningful. When you act as if life is always in your favor, You allow faith to guide you, and suddenly challenges feel less like punishments and more like stepping stones. You no longer tremble before uncertainty, because you understand that uncertainty is not your enemy. It is simply life unfolding in ways your mind cannot yet see. Think about the times in your past when you were afraid. You may have been terrified of losing something, worried about how you would survive a setback, or anxious about how a problem would resolve. Yet here you are today, alive, breathing, and carrying the wisdom from those experiences. Many of the things you feared either never happened, or if they did, they shaped you into a stronger person. This is the proof that fear lies, while faith reveals the truth. Fear says, "You will not make it," while faith says, "You already have, and you will again." Living with faith does not mean ignoring risks or pretending that life will always be easy. It means making choices with courage rather than hesitation. It means walking forward even when the road ahead is foggy, because you trust that each step will reveal the next. Fear paralyzes, but faith mobilizes. Fear closes doors, but faith opens them. Fear makes you shrink, but faith allows you to expand. And the more you choose faith over fear, the more life responds with opportunities that align with your trust. Buddhism teaches us that much of our suffering comes from clinging to the illusion of control, and fear is a symptom of that clinging. We fear because we think we must control the outcome. But when we release this need and embrace faith, we realize that we do not need to control everything. We only need to walk with awareness and trust. Faith is the antidote to fear because it reminds us that life has never abandoned us and never will. When you live with faith, you carry a lightness inside you. You stop overthinking every possibility, and you begin to live more freely, more joyfully. You take risks, not recklessly, but with confidence that whatever happens will serve your growth. You open your heart to love, knowing that even if it ends, it will leave you wiser. You pursue your dreams, knowing that even if you stumble, you will rise again stronger. This is the power of living with faith. It turns life into a journey of discovery instead of a prison of fear. And the more you choose faith, the more you realize that everything truly is working in your favor. Even the detours, even the delays, even the losses, faith reveals them not as signs of failure, but as pieces of a greater picture. The more you trust, the more life proves that it has always been guiding you, step by step, toward growth, peace, and awakening. Would you like me to now expand Lesson 7 in the same deep, flowing style so your full script is complete? Or do you want me to make the conclusion section long and powerful as well? Become the calm in the storm. Life will always bring storms. No matter how careful you are, no matter how much you plan, there will be moments when everything feels uncertain, when events spiral out of your control, and when you are shaken by loss, disappointment, or pain. The truth is that storms are not accidents. They are an inevitable part of living. Just as the sky cannot always remain clear, and just as the ocean cannot always remain calm, your life too will pass through seasons of turbulence. The question is not whether the storm will come, but how you will respond when it does. Most people allow themselves to be consumed by the storm. They panic, they resist, they lose themselves to fear and anger, and they drown in the very waves they could have learned to float upon. But Buddhism teaches us that it is possible to become the calm within the storm, to remain steady even when everything around you feels unstable. To act as if everything is working out for you does not mean pretending that storms do not exist. It means facing them with a heart anchored in peace. It means standing in the middle of chaos and choosing not to let it control you. Imagine the eye of a hurricane. The world outside it is violent and destructive, yet in the very center there is stillness. That stillness is your potential. It is the state of mind you can cultivate when you realize that no storm, no matter how fierce, can destroy the calm you carry within. The more you live with this understanding, the less power the storm has over you. Becoming the calm in the storm begins with perspective. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you learn to ask, "What is this teaching me? How can this shape me?" With this shift, the storm transforms from an enemy into a teacher. Loss teaches you the preciousness of life. Failure teaches you resilience. Uncertainty teaches you to trust. Pain teaches you compassion. Every storm has a message, and if you resist less and listen more, you begin to hear it. Think about the lotus flower, one of the most important symbols in Buddhism. The lotus does not grow in pure, clean water. It grows in the mud. The deeper the mud, the stronger the lotus must rise to reach the sunlight. Your storms are like that mud. They are not there to bury you, but to give you the conditions necessary for growth. Without storms, you would never discover your true strength. Without difficulty, you would never learn patience, humility, or gratitude. When you begin to see storms this way, you stop fearing them. You stop cursing them. You begin to understand that they are part of the path working in your favor. Calmness does not mean numbness. It does not mean you feel nothing or pretend that everything is fine. It means you allow yourself to feel without being controlled by those feelings. You may feel sadness, but you do not drown in despair. You may feel fear, but you do not allow it to paralyze you. You may feel anger, but you do not let it destroy your peace. Calmness is mastery over your inner state. It is the ability to remain balanced, like a mountain unmoved by the winds. The storm may rage around the mountain, but the mountain remains solid, unshaken. This is the strength Buddhism guides us toward, the inner stability that no external chaos can take away. One of the most powerful tools to cultivate calm is mindfulness. When the storm arrives, the mind wants to run into the past, replaying what went wrong, or into the future, imagining worst-case scenarios. But mindfulness brings you back to the present. By focusing on your breath, your body, or the simple act of observing what is happening without judgment, you create space between yourself and the storm. Instead of being swallowed by it, you begin to see it clearly, and in seeing clearly, you reclaim your power. The storm is no longer something that defines you. It is simply something passing through. Like clouds drifting across the sky, storms may cover the light for a while, but they always move on. Calmness in the storm also requires trust. You must trust that the storm is not against you, but for you. You must believe that even if you cannot see the purpose now, one day you will look back and realize that the storm gave you something precious: strength, wisdom, clarity, or compassion. This trust is what allows you to stop panicking in uncertainty. You stop grasping for control and begin to let life unfold as it must. You remind yourself, if this storm is here, it is here for a reason. And if it is here for a reason, then it is part of life working in my favor. With this mindset, even the heaviest storm becomes lighter, because you are no longer fighting it. You are learning from it. Let us look at an example. Imagine someone who loses their job unexpectedly. Fear rushes in, whispering, "You are finished. You will not survive this. Everything is falling apart." But a calm mind responds differently. It acknowledges the fear, but does not surrender to it. Instead, it asks, what is this redirecting me toward? What new opportunity is being created? Months later, that same person may discover a career path they never would have explored, one that brings them greater joy and fulfillment. The storm of job loss, instead of being the end, becomes the doorway to a new beginning. This is what it means to act as if everything is working out for you. It is not blind optimism. It is wise trust. Another example is heartbreak. When someone you love leaves, the pain can feel unbearable. The storm rages inside you. Memories, regrets, and loneliness consume your thoughts. But calmness teaches you not to let the storm destroy you. Instead, you begin to see that heartbreak is not only loss, it is also an opening. It shows you the strength you never knew you had. It teaches you to love yourself more deeply. It clears space in your heart for a love that is more genuine, more aligned, more lasting. What once felt like the storm that would drown you becomes the storm that washed you clean, preparing you for a brighter chapter. Calmness also protects your relationships. When storms come, people often react with anger, blame, or harsh words. These reactions damage bonds and create more suffering. But when you are calm, you do not lash out. You listen. You respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. This calm presence becomes a source of strength for those around you. Just as a steady lighthouse guides ships safely through storms, your calmness becomes a light for others, showing them that peace is possible even in difficulty. Becoming the calm in the storm requires practice. It will not happen overnight. You must train your mind daily through meditation, mindfulness, and self-awareness. Each small moment of choosing calm over chaos builds your inner strength. Each time you pause instead of reacting, breathe instead of panicking, and reflect instead of resisting, you are becoming more like the mountain, steady, unshaken, immovable. Over time, storms that once terrified you become less frightening because you know you have the ability to face them. And perhaps the most profound truth is this: storms will always pass. No matter how fierce, no matter how long they last, they do not last forever. Pain softens, fear fades, confusion clears. The storm cannot outlast you if you remain grounded. By becoming the calm in the storm, you not only survive, you grow. You rise from it wiser, stronger, and more at peace than before. To live as if everything is working out for you means carrying this calmness wherever you go. It means trusting that even the storms are shaping you into who you are meant to become. It means refusing to let chaos steal your peace, because you know peace is not something given by the world. It is something you cultivate within. And when you become the calm in the storm, you become unshakable. You no longer fear the storms of life, because you have learned that they do not come to destroy you, they come to awaken you. Surrender to the wisdom of impermanence. One of the deepest teachings in Buddhism is the truth of impermanence, the understanding that nothing in life remains fixed, and everything is constantly changing. Every sunrise eventually fades into sunset. Every flower eventually wilts. Every breath we take is followed by another, and every moment passes into the next. This truth can feel frightening if we cling too tightly to what we love or resist too strongly what we fear. Yet, when you learn to surrender to impermanence, you discover that it is not an enemy, but a source of profound freedom. To act as if everything is working out for you means not only trusting the flow of life, but also embracing its constant changes. Knowing that impermanence is not here to rob you, but to guide you toward growth, renewal, and deeper peace. At first, impermanence may seem cruel. You may ask, if nothing lasts forever, how can I ever feel safe? How can I hold on to happiness if it will eventually fade? But this question is born from a misunderstanding. Impermanence does not mean that happiness is meaningless. It means that happiness is precious. Imagine if flowers bloomed forever, never fading, never changing. Eventually, you would stop noticing their beauty. It is precisely because they bloom for only a short while that their presence feels magical, that their fragrance feels like a gift, and that their beauty can move you to tears. The same is true of life itself. The fleeting nature of moments makes them meaningful. To understand impermanence is to understand that every experience, every person, and every season of life carries a unique beauty precisely because it will not last forever. This truth is especially powerful during times of suffering. When you are in pain, when your heart feels heavy, or when your path seems dark, impermanence becomes a source of comfort. It whispers to you, "This too shall pass." No storm lasts forever. No wound remains unhealed. No night goes on without end. The Buddhist perspective teaches us that everything changes, and just as joy does not remain forever, neither does sorrow. Even in your darkest moments, there is light waiting to emerge, because change is the nature of life. By surrendering to this truth, you stop clinging to pain as if it will define you forever. You learn to hold your suffering gently, knowing that it too is temporary, that it too will one day transform into something new. Surrendering to impermanence also changes the way you relate to the people you love. Many of us cling tightly to relationships, terrified of losing them, and in that fear we suffocate the very love we are trying to preserve. But when you understand impermanence, you realize that love is not about holding on forever. It is about cherishing fully while it is here. You stop taking people for granted because you know their presence is a blessing, not a guarantee. You say, "I love you" more often, you listen more deeply, you forgive more easily, because you know that each interaction is precious. Impermanence does not diminish love, it deepens it. It teaches you to live with an open heart, to give generously, and to value every moment with those who matter most. In the same way, impermanence frees you from clinging to material possessions, achievements, or status. No matter how much you accumulate, nothing external can remain with you forever. Wealth fades, beauty changes, titles disappear, and even the strongest bodies eventually grow old. If you build your identity on these shifting sands, you will always live in fear, because you know deep down they cannot last. But when you embrace impermanence, you stop building your worth on things that will eventually crumble. Instead, you turn inward, cultivating qualities that do not fade: wisdom, compassion, patience, and inner peace. These are treasures no storm can take away, and they are strengthened by the very truth of impermanence, because you know that only the inner life endures as everything external changes. Think about how liberating this is. If you accept that everything changes, you no longer cling desperately to what you have, nor do you despair endlessly over what you have lost. You learn to flow with life instead of fighting against it. When happiness comes, you enjoy it fully, knowing it is a gift. When sadness comes, you endure it patiently, knowing it will not last forever. In both cases, you remain balanced, calm, and free. This balance is the gift of surrendering to impermanence. Buddhism often compares life to waves in the ocean. Each wave rises, takes form, and then falls back into the sea. Some waves are tall, some are small, some are gentle, some are fierce, but all eventually dissolve into the same vast ocean. Our joys and sorrows, our beginnings and endings, our births and deaths, they are all waves in the great ocean of existence. When you resist impermanence, you cling to each wave, terrified of its rise and fall. But when you surrender, you learn to see that every wave, no matter how temporary, is an expression of the ocean itself. You realize that nothing is ever truly lost. It only changes form. The people you love, the moments you treasure, even your own existence, none of it disappears into nothingness. It transforms, like a wave returning to the ocean. This understanding dissolves fear and replaces it with deep peace. Learning to surrender to impermanence also teaches you resilience. Life will inevitably remove things from your path: jobs, relationships, possessions, opportunities. At first, it may feel like loss, but over time you realize that impermanence clears space for new beginnings. Just as autumn strips the trees bare to make room for the renewal of spring, impermanence takes away what is no longer needed so that life can bring you something new. If you resist, you suffer. If you surrender, you grow. Each ending becomes a doorway, each change becomes a teacher, and each loss becomes a path to new life. Perhaps the greatest gift of impermanence is freedom from fear of death. Many people live their entire lives terrified of death, unable to enjoy the present because they are constantly running from the inevitable. But Buddhism teaches that death is not an end, it is a transformation. Just as the flame of a candle passes into another flame, just as a wave falls back into the ocean, life continues in different forms. When you embrace impermanence, you stop living as if death is a thief. Instead, you see it as part of the natural cycle, no different from birth, no different from the seasons, no different from the rising and setting of the sun. This acceptance allows you to live more fully, more fearlessly, because you are no longer trying to outrun the inevitable. You are free to live in the present, to love deeply, to give generously, and to trust that when your time comes, it will be another step in the unfolding journey of existence. To surrender to impermanence is to relax into the rhythm of life itself. You stop demanding that things stay the same and begin to flow with change. You let go of clinging, you release resistance, and you discover the peace of aligning with reality. Everything changes, and that is not something to fear, it is something to embrace. Because in that change lies the proof that nothing is ever truly lost, that every ending gives rise to a beginning, and that life, in all its impermanence, is always working in your favor. When you live with this understanding, every moment becomes sacred. The laughter of a friend, the warmth of sunlight, the taste of your meal, the sound of rain, all of it is seen as precious because you know it will not last forever. You stop rushing through life and you start living it. Impermanence teaches you to be present, to be grateful, and to be calm, because you know that nothing, neither joy nor sorrow, remains forever. And with this wisdom you finally understand that the flow of impermanence is not here to harm you, but to carry you gently toward awakening. Cultivate inner stillness amid the noise of the world. The modern world is loud. It is filled with constant distractions, endless opinions, rapid changes, and a flood of information that never seems to stop. Everywhere you turn, there is noise, notifications buzzing on your phone, conversations filled with complaints and comparisons, media designed to stir emotions, and thoughts in your own mind that race faster than you can catch them. Most people do not realize how much this noise steals from them. It robs them of clarity, weakens their focus, drains their energy, and keeps them in a state of restless dissatisfaction. Yet Buddhism teaches that within every human being there is a place untouched by the noise, a space of profound stillness. To act as if everything is working out for you means learning to cultivate this inner stillness, because when you live from that place, no amount of chaos outside can disturb the peace you carry inside. Think of a lake on a windy day. The surface is rough and unsettled, waves crash into one another, and the reflection of the sky above is distorted. But if you dive beneath the surface, you discover that the deeper waters remain calm, steady, and undisturbed by the movements above. Your mind is the same. On the surface there may be noise, confusion, and turbulence. But if you learn to go deeper within yourself, you find stillness. And it is in that stillness where wisdom, strength, and true peace reside. Cultivating inner stillness does not mean escaping the world or running away from responsibility. It means creating a steady center within yourself that you can return to no matter what is happening around you. In Buddhism, this is often compared to the mountain that remains unmoved even as storms rage around it. The mountain does not control the storm, nor does it fear it. It simply stands, rooted and steady. When you cultivate stillness, you become like that mountain. The noise may continue, but it no longer controls you. The first step towards stillness is awareness. Most people are not even aware of how much noise they are carrying. Their minds run endlessly, jumping from one thought to another, reacting to every emotion, and absorbing the energy of everyone around them. But when you begin to notice this, when you pause and observe the restlessness of your own mind, you create space. That space is the doorway to stillness. It is the moment you realize, I am not my thoughts. I am the one who notices my thoughts. This simple recognition loosens the grip of noise. One of the most powerful tools for cultivating stillness is meditation. In meditation, you sit quietly and allow the mind to settle, much like mud sinking to the bottom of water. At first, the mind resists. It throws up distractions, worries, and urges to move. But if you remain patient, if you continue to sit and breathe, the mind gradually begins to quiet. Thoughts slow down, the noise softens, and beneath it, you begin to feel a calm presence that has always been there. This presence is not created by meditation, it is revealed through it. Just as the stars are always in the sky but hidden by daylight, your inner stillness has always been within you, hidden by the constant brightness of thoughts and noise. When you connect with this stillness regularly, you begin to carry it into your daily life. A stressful situation at work no longer shakes you as much because you know how to return to your center. An argument no longer consumes you because you have learned the power of pausing before reacting. The chaos of the world continues, but you no longer mirror it. You remain calm, like the still surface of a lake reflecting the sky. This calmness does not make you passive, it makes you powerful. It gives you the clarity to act wisely instead of impulsively, and it gives you the strength to stay balanced even when others lose themselves in fear or anger. Cultivating stillness also changes your relationship with time. Most people are trapped in a constant rush, always moving from one task to the next, always planning for tomorrow, always regretting yesterday. In stillness, you discover the richness of the present. A single breath becomes meaningful. The sound of birds becomes a source of joy. A conversation with a loved one becomes an opportunity for true connection. When the mind is still, life slows down, not because time itself changes, but because you are finally living in it instead of running past it. This presence deepens your appreciation for life and helps you see that peace is not waiting in the future, it is available now. Another gift of inner stillness is that it reveals truth. Noise distorts reality. When your mind is restless, you misinterpret situations, you judge others harshly, and you create unnecessary suffering. But in stillness, clarity arises. You begin to see things as they really are, without the filters of fear or desire. This clarity allows you to make better decisions, to speak with wisdom, and to act with compassion. Stillness is not emptiness, it is awareness in its purest form. And from that awareness, truth shines. Stillness also strengthens resilience. When life is noisy and chaotic, it is easy to be swept away by emotions. You may react in anger, despair, or fear, only to regret it later. But when you are rooted in stillness, emotions lose their power to control you. You may still feel anger, but it no longer dictates your words. You may still feel fear, but it no longer prevents you from moving forward. You may still feel sadness, but you no longer believe it will last forever. Stillness does not erase emotions. It gives you the space to hold them without being consumed by them. This is true resilience, not avoiding pain, but meeting it with balance. It is important to understand that cultivating stillness is not about perfection. There will be days when the noise feels overwhelming, when your mind races, and when calm feels distant. That is natural. Stillness is a practice, not a permanent state. Just as a musician must practice daily to master their instrument, you must return again and again to your inner stillness, even if only for a few moments at a time. Each time you do, you strengthen your connection to it, and gradually it becomes easier to access. Over time, the noise loses its grip, and stillness becomes your natural way of being. This stillness is also deeply connected to compassion. When you are caught in noise, you are focused only on yourself, your problems, your fears, your desires. But when you are still, your heart opens. You begin to notice the suffering of others, not with judgment, but with understanding. You see that everyone is caught in the same noise, struggling in their own way. This realization softens you. It makes you kinder, gentler, more patient. You begin to treat others with compassion, not because you have to, but because stillness naturally reveals our shared humanity. Perhaps the most profound aspect of inner stillness is that it connects you to something greater than yourself. When the noise quiets, you begin to feel the vastness of existence, the interconnectedness of all life, the rhythm of the universe, the timeless presence that flows through everything. You realize that you are not separate from the world. You are part of it, like a drop of water in the ocean. This realization dissolves loneliness and fear, replacing them with a sense of belonging and peace. In stillness, you remember that life has always been working for you, carrying you, guiding you, and that you are never truly alone. To cultivate inner stillness amid the noise of the world is to reclaim your power. It is to refuse to be controlled by chaos, to choose peace over panic, clarity over confusion, and compassion over judgment. It is to live not as a victim of noise, but as a master of your own inner world. And when you live from that place, no storm, no challenge, no distraction can shake you. You carry your calmness wherever you go, and that calmness becomes your greatest strength. So when the world feels loud, when your mind feels restless, when everything seems overwhelming, remember this: beneath the noise, there is always stillness. You do not have to create it. You only have to uncover it. Return to your breath. Return to your center. Return to the stillness that has always been within you. In that place, you will find peace. And in that peace, you will know that everything is, and always has been, working in your favor. Walk with unshakable trust in the path. Every journey in life begins with a single step, yet most people hesitate to take that step because they fear where the path might lead. They worry about whether they are making the right choice, whether they will fail, or whether life will betray them if they dare to move forward. This hesitation is born from a lack of trust. Without trust, every decision feels heavy, every obstacle feels unbearable, and every unknown feels terrifying. But Buddhism teaches us that life is not something to fear, it is something to trust. To act as if everything is working out for you means to walk with unshakable trust in the path, even when you cannot see the destination, even when the road bends into darkness, and even when the ground feels unsteady beneath your feet. Trusting the path does not mean that the journey will always be smooth. There will be mountains to climb, valleys to cross, and storms to endure. But trust reminds you that none of these are mistakes. They are part of the journey itself. Just as a traveler must sometimes pass through difficult terrain to reach a place of beauty, you too must face challenges as part of your growth. When you trust, you stop treating obstacles as punishments and begin to see them as necessary steps guiding you forward. You understand that the path is wiser than your fear and that life has a way of preparing you for what is ahead, even if you do not realize it in the moment. Think about how a seed grows into a tree. The seed does not know what the sun looks like, nor can it predict how tall it will one day stand. Yet it trusts the process. It pushes through the soil, even in darkness, because it follows an inner knowing that there is light waiting above. If the seed resisted the process, if it doubted and refused to move, it would never grow. You are the same. When you walk with trust, you follow the quiet wisdom within you that says, "Keep going, the light is ahead." Without trust, you stay buried in the soil of fear, never breaking through into the life you were meant to live. Trust also means letting go of the constant need to know every answer before you act. Many people paralyze themselves with endless questions. What if this doesn't work? What if I fail? What if people judge me? What if I make the wrong choice? But the truth is, you cannot predict everything. Life is too vast, too mysterious, to be fully mapped out in advance. To trust the path means to step forward even without perfect knowledge, to believe that clarity will come as you move, not before. The road reveals itself to the walker, not to the one who stands still. Each step you take builds the path beneath your feet, and trust is what gives you the courage to take that step without needing to see the entire map. In Buddhism, this trust is often compared to crossing a river by stepping on stones. From the shore, you cannot see every stone that will carry you across. You see only the next one. If you demand to see the entire crossing before you begin, you will stay on the shore forever. But if you trust and step onto the stone in front of you, the next stone appears, and then the next, until you safely reach the other side. This is the essence of walking with trust. You may not see the whole journey, but you can always see the next step, and that is enough. Trust also transforms the way you see failure. Without trust, failure feels final. It feels like proof that you were wrong to try. But with trust, failure becomes feedback. It becomes part of the path shaping you. Just as a child falls many times before learning to walk, you too must stumble on your journey. But those stumbles are not the end. They are the practice that builds your strength, balance, and resilience. Trust allows you to fall without despair, because you know the fall is not a rejection of your path. It is a part of it. Each mistake is a teacher, each setback is a redirection, and each failure is a stepping stone. With trust, you stop fearing failure, because you know it is simply the path teaching you how to walk. Walking with trust also frees you from the burden of comparison. When you lack trust, you look at the paths of others and wonder if you are behind, if you are missing out, or if you chose wrongly. But Buddhism reminds us that each person's path is unique, like rivers flowing in different directions, yet all leading to the same ocean. Trusting your path means no longer comparing your journey to someone else's, because you understand that their road is not yours to walk. You are exactly where you need to be, and the lessons you are learning are exactly the ones meant for you. This trust brings peace, because you stop rushing to match others and begin walking at the pace of your own life. Trust also means surrendering the illusion that you are walking alone. Many times you may feel isolated in your struggles, as though no one understands, as though the burden is entirely yours to carry. But when you trust the path, you begin to notice that help has always been present, whether through the kindness of a stranger, the support of a friend, or the quiet strength of your own inner resilience. The Buddhist teaching of interdependence reminds us that everything is connected. You are not a solitary traveler. You are part of a vast web of existence that supports you in ways you may not always see. Trust helps you recognize that the path itself is alive, guiding you, carrying you, and providing what you need, even when you cannot explain how. Of course, there will be times when trust feels difficult, when everything seems uncertain, when your efforts do not bear fruit, when life feels heavy, your mind will be tempted to give in to doubt. In those moments, trust is not about ignoring your feelings, but about remembering the bigger picture. It is about reminding yourself that the path is not measured by a single moment of difficulty, but by the entire journey. Even if today feels heavy, tomorrow may bring light. Even if this chapter feels painful, the next may bring healing. Trust does not deny the struggle. It gives you the courage to keep walking through it. Meditation and mindfulness are powerful practices for strengthening trust. When you sit in stillness, observing your breath, you are practicing trust in its simplest form. You trust that the next breath will come without you forcing it. You trust that your body knows how to breathe, how to heal, how to carry you. This small act of trust, repeated daily, trains your mind to carry that same trust into larger aspects of life. Over time, you begin to trust not just your breath, but your path. You trust that life, like the breath, will continue to move, to change, to carry you forward, whether you worry or not. Walking with unshakable trust does not mean ignoring difficulties or pretending that life is always easy. It means standing firm in the belief that life is not against you, even when it challenges you. It means moving forward with the quiet confidence that every step, no matter how uncertain, is leading you where you need to be. Trust is not about avoiding storms. It is about knowing you will not drown in them. Trust is not about having no fears. It is about choosing to walk despite them. Trust is not about certainty. It is about courage in uncertainty. When you cultivate this trust, your life changes. Decisions feel lighter because you no longer demand absolute guarantees before acting. Challenges feel bearable because you see them as part of the journey. The future feels less frightening because you know you will meet it with strength. And the present feels richer because you are no longer distracted by doubt. With trust, you walk with a steady heart, no longer paralyzed by what might go wrong, but energized by the possibility of what might go right. Ultimately, walking with unshakable trust in the path is about surrendering to the wisdom of life itself. It is about recognizing that the same intelligence that moves the stars, that makes the seasons change, and that allows flowers to bloom also moves within you. If the universe can carry galaxies through endless space, surely it can carry you through your challenges. Trusting the path means aligning yourself with this wisdom, knowing that you are not separate from it, but part of it. And when you live with this trust, you discover that everything truly is working in your favor. Not just sometimes, not just when things go well, but always, in every step, in every twist, in every turn. So, keep walking. Even when the way is unclear, even when the night feels long, even when doubt whispers in your ear, keep walking. Trust that the path will carry you, that the light will return, and that every step you take is leading you toward awakening. Walk with unshakable trust, and you will see that the journey itself is the destination, and that life, in all its mystery and challenge, has always been guiding you exactly where you need to go. Freedom through letting go of attachment. One of the deepest causes of suffering, as the Buddha taught, is attachment. Attachment is the clinging of the mind, the desperate need to hold on to things, people, experiences, or outcomes, as if our happiness depends entirely upon them. At first, attachment seems harmless. We say, I love this person, I need this success, I must have this possession, and we believe that by holding tightly, we will preserve happiness. Yet the paradox is that the tighter we cling, the more suffering we create. Life, by its very nature, is impermanent. People change, seasons shift, circumstances evolve, and possessions fade. When we cling to what cannot last, we set ourselves up for inevitable pain. To act as if everything is working out for you requires the courage to release attachment, to let go of what you cannot control, and to trust that in letting go, you do not lose. You gain freedom. Imagine holding sand in your hand. If you keep your palm open, the sand rests gently without struggle. But if you squeeze your fist tightly, trying to keep the grains from slipping away, they pour out even faster. Attachment works the same way. When you grasp too tightly, out of fear of losing, you accelerate the very loss you are trying to avoid. A relationship suffocated by control withers. A dream pursued with desperation collapses. A possession idolized becomes a source of worry instead of joy. Letting go does not mean you stop caring or stop loving. It means you stop clinging. It means you hold life with open hands, allowing it to flow through you naturally, trusting that what belongs to you will remain, and what leaves was never meant to stay. Attachment shows up in many forms. It may be attachment to people, believing that your worth depends on their approval or presence. It may be attachment to success, thinking that only by achieving a certain goal will you finally feel complete. It may be attachment to identity, defining yourself rigidly by who you believe you are and resisting any change to that story. And it may be attachment to control, demanding that life always unfold according to your expectations. Each of these attachments creates chains that bind your spirit. The more you cling, the less freedom you have. The more you demand, the less peace you feel. But Buddhism offers a different way. Letting go of attachment does not mean indifference. It does not mean withdrawing from life or refusing to care. On the contrary, it means engaging more deeply with life, but without clinging. It means loving fully while knowing love cannot be possessed. It means enjoying success without letting it define you. It means embracing your identity while remaining open to growth. It means making plans without being enslaved by outcomes. When you release attachment, you discover a paradox. you enjoy life more, not less. Because instead of living in fear of losing, you live in gratitude for what is. Consider how this changes relationships. When you are attached, you say, "I need this person to act a certain way so I can be happy." You try to mold them, control them, or cling to them. But love bound by attachment is not love, it is possession. When you let go, you begin to love more purely. You say, "I appreciate who you are, and I do not need to chain you to my expectations." This kind of love is lighter, freer, and more genuine. It allows the other person to be themselves, and it allows you to love without fear. If they remain in your life, it is out of choice, not control. If they leave, you grieve, but you do not collapse, because your peace was never chained to their presence. The same principle applies to goals and ambitions. There is nothing wrong with wanting to succeed, but when you attach your worth to achievement, you create endless anxiety. You chase milestones with desperation, believing that happiness lies just beyond the next accomplishment. Yet when you arrive, happiness slips away, and you set your sights on the next goal. This cycle never ends. But if you pursue goals with openness, detached from the need for a specific outcome, you discover joy in the process itself. You work with focus and discipline, but without fear of failure. If success comes, you celebrate it. If it does not, you still grow through the effort. This detachment gives you resilience, because your happiness no longer rises and falls with circumstances. You are steady regardless. Attachment to control is perhaps the hardest to release. The mind believes, if I can control everything, if I can manage people, predict outcomes, and avoid uncertainty, then I will be safe. But life cannot be controlled. The future remains unknown. People act in ways you cannot predict, and change arrives whether you welcome it or not. Clinging to control is like trying to command the wind. You may fight it, but the wind will blow as it chooses. Letting go of control does not mean passivity, it means wisdom. It means giving your best effort, making wise choices, but releasing the illusion that you can control everything. It means accepting uncertainty as part of life and trusting that whatever comes, you will meet it with strength. Letting go also applies to the past. Many people cling to old wounds, replaying them endlessly, unable to move on. They believe that by holding on, they are protecting themselves from being hurt again. Yet this attachment only deepens suffering. The past is gone. It cannot be relived or rewritten. By clinging to it, you anchor yourself to something that no longer exists. Letting go of the past does not mean forgetting. It means releasing its grip on your present. It means saying, yes, this happened, but it no longer controls me. In this release, you reclaim your freedom. So how do you practice letting go of attachment? The first step is awareness. Begin to notice where you are clinging. Notice the thoughts that say, I cannot live without this, or I must have this to be happy. These are signs of attachment. Once you notice them, you can gently challenge them. Ask yourself, is this true? Is my happiness really chained to this? Or is it my mind that is clinging? By questioning attachment, you loosen its hold. The next step is mindfulness. When you practice mindfulness, you observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment. You allow them to arise and pass like clouds drifting across the sky. This practice reminds you that everything, joy, sorrow, fear, desire, is impermanent. Just as no cloud stays in the sky forever, no emotion remains forever. This truth weakens attachment because you realize you do not need to cling to what is temporary. You can let it pass, trusting that new experiences will arise. Another powerful practice is gratitude. When you focus on gratitude, you shift from clinging to appreciating. Instead of demanding, I need this to stay, you say, I am grateful this is here now. Gratitude transforms attachment into presence. It teaches you to cherish without clinging, to love without fear, and to enjoy without demanding permanence. Over time, as you let go of attachment, you experience a profound sense of freedom. You no longer live as a prisoner of circumstances. You no longer ride the endless roller coaster of craving and disappointment. You become steady, like a tree rooted deeply in the earth. Winds may blow, seasons may change, but your peace remains. This is not cold detachment. It is warm freedom. It allows you to engage with life fully, but without chains. The Buddha once said, "You can only lose what you cling to." These words reveal the heart of the teaching. When you cling, you create loss. When you release, you find freedom. To act as if everything is working out for you is to trust that letting go does not mean emptiness. It means space. Space for new blessings to enter. Space for your spirit to breathe. Space for life to unfold in ways more beautiful than you could have planned. When you walk with open hands instead of closed fists, you discover that life gives more generously than you ever imagined. You stop living in fear of losing and begin living in joy of receiving. You realize that freedom was never about holding tightly. It was about letting go. And in that freedom, you finally see that everything, every gain, every loss, every change has always been working in your favor. The power of patience, trusting the timing of life. One of the most difficult truths for the human heart to accept is that life unfolds according to its own rhythm, not according to our impatience. We live in a world where everything is expected instantly. Food delivered in minutes, information found in seconds, messages answered in moments. Over time, this culture of speed has conditioned us to expect the same immediacy from life itself. We want success quickly, healing immediately, relationships without struggle, and answers without delay. Yet Buddhism reminds us of a deeper wisdom, that everything has its season, and that rushing against the natural rhythm of life only creates frustration and suffering. To act as if everything is working out for you means cultivating patience, trusting that what is meant for you will arrive at the right moment, not a moment sooner, not a moment later. Patience is not passive waiting. It is active trust. It is the ability to remain calm and steady, even when the results you desire have not yet appeared. Imagine planting a seed in the ground. You water it, you tend the soil, and then you wait. No amount of shouting at the seed or tugging at its leaves will make it grow faster. If anything, your interference will damage it. The seed knows its timing. It will sprout when the conditions are right, and it will blossom when the season arrives. Life is the same. When you are impatient, you dig up your own seed to see if it is growing, only to delay the very growth you are longing for. Patience, however, allows you to step back and trust the unseen process. Buddhism often compares patience to the steady work of water. Water wears away even the hardest stone, not through force, but through persistence and time. It does not rush, yet it transforms mountains. In the same way, when you live with patience, you discover that progress is happening even when it seems invisible. Just because you cannot see results today does not mean nothing is happening beneath the surface. Like water shaping rock, your efforts, your choices, and your steady presence are quietly shaping your life, preparing the breakthroughs that will come when the time is right. Impatience comes from fear, the fear that life will not deliver, that time will run out, that opportunities will pass us by. This fear makes us restless, always pushing, always doubting, always demanding results on our own schedule. But when you trust the timing of life, you release this fear. You remind yourself that you are not falling behind, that you are not forgotten, that what is meant for you will never miss you. This trust brings peace because it allows you to stop racing against life and begin walking with it. Think about some of the most meaningful experiences in your life. Perhaps a friendship that arrived unexpectedly, a career opportunity that opened after rejection, or a moment of joy that appeared when you least expected it. Did you plan those perfectly, or did they come in their own time, often after moments of waiting and uncertainty? Looking back, you realize that the timing was not wrong, it was perfect. If things had happened earlier, you might not have been ready. If they had happened later, You might have missed them, but they came exactly when you needed them. This is the wisdom of patience. It reveals that life has always been on time, even when you did not understand it in the moment. Patience also protects your relationships. Many conflicts arise because we demand others to change instantly, to meet our expectations right away, to grow according to our schedule. But human beings, like flowers, bloom in their own time. Just as you cannot rush a rose to blossom, you cannot rush someone's personal growth, healing, or transformation. When you practice patience with others, you create space for them to grow naturally. This patience is an act of compassion. It says, I trust your journey. I do not need to force you to be where I think you should be. In this way, patience deepens love, because it allows you to accept people as they are, while supporting who they are becoming. Patience also transforms your relationship with yourself. Many people are harsh with themselves, demanding quick results, criticizing every mistake, and becoming frustrated when growth feels slow. But self-transformation is not instant. Habits take time to change, wounds take time to heal, and wisdom takes time to ripen. When you practice patience with yourself, you replace harsh judgment with gentle encouragement. You say, I am a work in progress, and that is okay. This kindness toward yourself allows you to keep moving forward, even when progress feels small. With patience, you no longer measure your worth by how quickly you arrive. You honor the journey itself. In Buddhist practice, patience is considered a form of strength. It is not weakness to wait, it is courage. It is the courage to sit in uncertainty without running, to face delay without despair, to trust the invisible process without giving up. Patience is a shield against suffering because it protects you from the agitation that comes with constant restlessness. When you are impatient, even blessings feel heavy because you cannot enjoy them. You are already rushing toward the next thing. But when you are patient, even waiting feels like peace because you know that waiting is not wasted. It is preparation. One of the greatest examples of patience is found in nature itself. The seasons never rush. Winter does not force spring to arrive sooner. Summer does not cling desperately to its warmth when autumn approaches. Each season comes in its time, and each passes when its work is complete. This is the rhythm of life, and when you align yourself with it, you discover peace. You no longer resist endings, because you know they make space for beginnings. You no longer rush beginnings because you know they must take root. Like the seasons, you learn to trust that everything in your life has its appointed time. There will be moments when your patience is tested. You will wait for answers that do not come quickly, for healing that feels slow, for opportunities that seem delayed. In these moments, remind yourself, just because you cannot see the progress does not mean it is not happening. The bamboo tree offers a powerful lesson. For years after it is planted, it shows no visible growth. To the eye, it appears as though nothing is happening. Yet beneath the soil, its roots are spreading, deepening, preparing to support its future. Then, suddenly, in a matter of weeks, the bamboo shoots upward, growing faster than you can imagine. Life often works the same way. Your patience during the invisible years prepares you for the seasons of rapid growth. If you give up too soon, you miss the moment when everything finally comes together. Patience also reveals a deeper kind of wealth, the wealth of peace. In impatience, you live in constant agitation, always restless, always unsatisfied. But in patience, you find contentment. You discover joy in the present, even as you wait for the future. You realize that life is not about arriving quickly, but about walking steadily. Each step becomes meaningful, each moment becomes a gift. And when the blessing finally arrives, you are able to receive it with gratitude, not exhaustion, because you waited with faith rather than fear. To live with patience is to live with wisdom. It is to understand that life is not measured by speed, but by depth. It is to recognize that rushing often leads to mistakes, while patience allows things to ripen fully. It is to trust that even delays are part of the path, shaping you into the person who will be ready when the time comes. With patience, you do not live in frustration. You live in harmony with life's rhythm. So act as if everything is working out for you by cultivating patience. Trust the timing of your journey. Trust that what is meant for you will not pass you by. Trust that the waiting is not empty, it is preparation. Trust that even when nothing seems to be happening, everything is quietly falling into place. And above all, trust that when the moment is right, life will open the door and you will step through it with gratitude and grace. Patience is not about waiting for the perfect moment. It is about realizing that every moment is perfect when you meet it with trust. And when you live this way, you discover the deep truth that everything, truly everything, is already working in your favor. Embrace the wisdom of uncertainty. If there is one thing that makes most people uneasy, it is uncertainty, the not knowing, the unanswered questions, the sense of standing at the edge of a road that disappears into the fog, unsure of what lies ahead. Our minds crave certainty. We want guarantees, clear answers, predictable outcomes. We want to know for sure that the relationship will last, that the decision we make will succeed, that tomorrow will unfold exactly as we hope. But life does not work this way. The truth, as Buddhism teaches, is that uncertainty is woven into the very fabric of existence. Everything changes, everything shifts, and no path is ever perfectly mapped out. To act as if everything is working out for you means not resisting this uncertainty, but embracing it. It means seeing uncertainty not as a threat, but as a teacher. At first, this seems impossible. How can something so uncomfortable be a source of wisdom? How can the unknown, which often fills us with fear, actually serve us? The answer lies in perspective. Uncertainty is uncomfortable only when we cling to the need for control. We believe that if we can predict every outcome, we will be safe. But this illusion of control only creates more anxiety. The truth is, even when you think you are certain, life can still surprise you. Plans can collapse, people can change, and unexpected events can redirect your entire path. When you accept this truth, uncertainty stops being an enemy. It becomes simply the natural state of life. And when you embrace it, you find a new kind of freedom. Think about a journey through the mountains. If the road were perfectly straight and predictable, the trip would be boring, lifeless. But when the road twists and turns, when it leads you to unexpected views, when you round a corner and suddenly see a breathtaking valley spread before you, that is when the journey becomes alive. Life's uncertainty works the same way. The very things you cannot predict are often the things that bring you the greatest joy, the deepest lessons, the most profound transformations. If everything were certain, life would lose its mystery. It is uncertainty that makes life meaningful, that keeps the heart humble, and that awakens the spirit to possibilities beyond imagination. Uncertainty also teaches humility. When we admit that we do not know everything, we open ourselves to learning. When we recognize that the future cannot be controlled, we open ourselves to growth. Buddhism teaches that clinging to fixed ideas about how things must be is one of the roots of suffering. The mind wants certainty because it fears vulnerability, but vulnerability is not weakness. It is the space where true wisdom enters. By embracing uncertainty, you admit, "I do not know what will happen, but I am willing to walk forward anyway." This humility softens the ego and deepens your trust in life. Another gift of uncertainty is creativity. When the future is unknown, it is a blank canvas. Anything can happen. Possibilities are not limited to what you already know. They extend into the infinite. This is why some of the greatest discoveries, inventions, and works of art have come from moments of uncertainty. The unknown pushes you to think differently, to explore, to imagine. If everything were certain, there would be no room for creativity, no need for exploration. By embracing uncertainty, you allow yourself to live as a creator, not just as a follower of rigid plans. Of course, uncertainty can also feel terrifying. When you lose a job, end a relationship, or face a major change, the unknown can feel like standing on the edge of a cliff. Fear floods in, whispering, "What if I fail? What if nothing works out? What if I cannot handle this?" But if you look back on your life, you will see that uncertainty has always been there, and you have always survived it. Every stage of your life began with uncertainty. The first time you walked, you did not know if your legs would carry you. The first time you spoke, you did not know if your words would come out right. The first time you tried anything, you faced uncertainty. Yet each time, life carried you forward. This is the hidden wisdom of uncertainty. It does not destroy you, it shapes you. Buddhism teaches us to meet uncertainty with mindfulness. Instead of rushing to escape it, we learn to sit with it. We observe the feelings it brings, the fear, the restlessness, the longing for control, and we breathe through them. In doing so, we discover that uncertainty is not as unbearable as we thought. It is only the stories we tell ourselves about uncertainty that cause suffering. The unknown itself is neutral. It is simply open space. When you stop fighting it, you begin to see its beauty. One way to embrace uncertainty is to shift your question. Instead of asking, "What if everything goes wrong?" ask, "What if everything goes right?" This small shift changes your energy from fear to trust. It reminds you that uncertainty does not only carry the possibility of loss, it also carries the possibility of gain. Every unknown future holds not just potential dangers, but also potential blessings. When you walk with this mindset, uncertainty becomes a field of opportunity instead of a threat. Uncertainty also teaches patience. When the future is unclear, you are forced to wait, to trust, to take one step at a time. This waiting strengthens you. It teaches you that life cannot be rushed, that answers come in their own time. Just as a caterpillar cannot skip its time in the cocoon, you cannot skip the seasons of uncertainty in your life. They are necessary for transformation. The cocoon may feel like darkness, but within it, something miraculous is happening. Uncertainty is your cocoon. It may feel uncomfortable, but it is shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, freer. Another profound lesson of uncertainty is that it keeps you present. When the future is unpredictable, the only safe place is the now. Uncertainty strips away the illusion of control and brings you back to the present moment, where peace is always available. When you anchor yourself in the present, your breath, your body, the sights and sounds around you, you discover that uncertainty is not something to fear. It is simply life, reminding you to live here and now, instead of chasing certainty in a future that has not yet arrived. When you embrace uncertainty, you stop resisting change. You understand that life is not meant to be rigid. It is fluid, dynamic, alive. Just as the river bends, just as the seasons shift, your life too must evolve. Clinging to certainty is like trying to freeze the river. It only leads to suffering. Letting go of the need for certainty allows you to flow with life, to adapt, to grow. This adaptability is one of the greatest strengths you can develop. It allows you to meet every moment with openness, saying, "I may not know what will happen, but I trust I will be okay." Uncertainty also teaches faith, not blind faith, but wise faith. It teaches you to trust that life has carried you this far and will continue to carry you. It teaches you to trust that even when you cannot see the road ahead, the path is unfolding as it should. This faith is not about denying difficulty. It is about believing that difficulty itself is part of the journey working in your favor. The more you embrace uncertainty, the less power fear has over you. Fear thrives on the unknown. It whispers endless what-ifs to keep you frozen. But when you face uncertainty directly and accept it, fear loses its grip. You stop needing to know every answer. You stop demanding that life explain itself. Instead, you open your heart to the mystery and you walk forward anyway. This is courage, not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move through fear with trust. When you live this way, uncertainty becomes your ally. Instead of being paralyzed by it, you are energized by it. Instead of shrinking, you expand. You begin to see life as an adventure, full of surprises, full of possibilities. You understand that certainty is not where growth happens. It is in the unknown that you truly discover yourself. And you realize that every moment of uncertainty you have faced in the past has prepared you for the strength you carry today. To embrace the wisdom of uncertainty is to live with openness, with humility, with courage. It is to trust that you do not need all the answers to take the next step. It is to accept that life will always be unpredictable and to see that unpredictability as a gift. And when you live this way, you discover that uncertainty is not a curse. It is proof that life is alive, dynamic, and working in your favor. So the next time you find yourself in the fog of the unknown, do not despair, breathe, trust, take one step, and remind yourself, uncertainty is not here to harm you. It is here to awaken you, to free you, to remind you that the path does not need to be visible for you to keep walking. Embrace uncertainty, and you will find not only peace, but also the profound realization that everything, even the unknown, is already working out for you. Harmony with the present. Stop waiting to begin living. One of the greatest illusions the human mind creates is the idea that happiness lies somewhere in the future, waiting for us to arrive. We tell ourselves, I will be at peace when I earn more money. I will be fulfilled when I achieve success. I will feel complete when I find love. I will finally live when things settle down. But life is not waiting in the distance. Life is here, in this very breath, in this very moment. Buddhism teaches us that the present is the only reality. The past is gone, the future has not yet come, and the present is all we truly have. To act as if everything is working out for you means learning to live in harmony with the present, to stop postponing your life, and to embrace the truth that this moment is already enough. Most people are caught in a cycle of waiting. They live as if life will start once certain conditions are met. But this waiting is endless because the mind always invents new conditions. The person who waits to be happy after gaining wealth discovers that wealth alone cannot satisfy them, so they set a new goal, waiting again. The person who waits for the perfect partner to bring them peace may find love, yet still feel restless inside. The cycle continues because happiness does not come from the future, it comes from presence. When you live only for tomorrow, you miss the beauty, the lessons, and the opportunities of today. Think of a traveler carrying a lantern. If they focus only on the distant horizon, they stumble in the darkness, blind to the ground beneath their feet. But if they use their lantern to light the path directly in front of them, they walk steadily, safely, and with awareness. The present is your lantern. It illuminates the ground you stand on, showing you where to step next. If you ignore it, always straining to see the distant future, you stumble. But when you focus on the light of now, you move gracefully, and the path reveals itself as you walk. Living in harmony with the present does not mean ignoring the future or refusing to plan. It means not sacrificing today for the illusion of tomorrow. You still work, dream, and prepare, but you do so with awareness, enjoying the process instead of living only for the outcome. A farmer plants seeds and tends to them daily. If he only fixates on harvest season, he misses the joy of watching the sprouts grow, of feeling the soil in his hands, of witnessing the miracle of life unfolding. In the same way, when you are always focused on what is to come, you miss the miracles happening right now. The present moment also holds the power of healing. Many of our wounds persist because we live in the past, replaying mistakes, clinging to regrets, or reopening old pain. But the past exists only in memory. It cannot be changed. By bringing yourself back to the present, you give yourself the chance to release that weight. Each breath becomes an invitation to begin again, to let go of yesterday, and to embrace the freshness of now. Likewise, much of our anxiety comes from living in the future, imagining problems that have not yet happened. But when you anchor yourself in the present, you discover that most of the fears troubling your mind do not exist in reality. They exist only in imagination. The present moment rarely carries the weight we fear. It is often simple, often peaceful, often enough. Living fully in the present also changes the way you experience joy. Often, joy is not in the grand achievements, but in the small, ordinary moments. The taste of your food, the laughter of a friend, the sound of rain, the warmth of the sun. But you can only notice these gifts if your attention is here, not elsewhere. A mind lost in yesterday or tomorrow is blind to the blessings of today. By practicing mindfulness, you train your awareness to return to the present, where joy is always waiting. Another profound teaching of Buddhism is that the present moment is where transformation happens. You cannot change the past, and you cannot act in the future. You can only act now. Every positive change in your life begins in this moment, choosing kindness, choosing discipline, choosing peace. When you align with the present, you reclaim your power. You stop being a victim of regret or fear, and you begin to live intentionally. Each moment becomes an opportunity to practice awareness, to deepen compassion, to cultivate wisdom. Living in harmony with the present also dissolves impatience. Impatience arises when we are so fixated on the future that we cannot enjoy the process of getting there. We want the flower without waiting for the bud to bloom. We want the fruit without waiting for the tree to grow. But life unfolds step by step. By embracing the present, you begin to enjoy each stage of the journey. You see that the bud is beautiful even before it becomes a flower. You taste sweetness in the process, not just in the outcome. This patience brings peace because you no longer rush through your days. You savor them. Some may ask, but how can I live in the present when my life feels difficult? This is where the practice of presence reveals its power. The present is not always easy, but it is always manageable. The mind, when lost in past or future, creates overwhelming stories, regrets of what should have been, fears of what might be. But when you bring yourself back to the now, you see that the challenge before you is often smaller than your imagination made it. You realize, in this moment, I can take this breath. I can take this step. I can handle this moment. By living one moment at a time, you build strength, and even great difficulties become bearable. Living in the present also deepens your relationships. Too often, we are physically present with others but mentally absent, lost in thought, distracted by worries or devices. True connection requires presence. When you give your full attention to another person, listening without distraction, speaking with sincerity, being fully there, you create bonds of trust and love that no amount of words can replace. Presence is the greatest gift you can give to those you love, and it is only possible when you stop waiting for life to begin and start living now. To live in harmony with the present is to free yourself from postponement. You stop saying, "I will live when," and you begin to live now. You realize that peace is not hidden in the future, it is available here. You realize that joy is not waiting at the end of the journey. It is found in each step. You realize that everything you need to begin living has already been given to you in this moment. This understanding dissolves restlessness and brings profound contentment. The Buddha once said, "Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future, concentrate the mind on the present moment." These words carry timeless wisdom. The past is memory, the future is imagination, but the present is reality. To miss it is to miss life itself. To embrace it is to discover that life has always been working out for you, because life is not in some distant place. It is here, in this breath, in this heartbeat, in this step. So stop waiting, stop postponing your joy until conditions are perfect. Stop telling yourself that life will begin someday. Life is happening now. Harmony with the present means stepping fully into it, trusting that what is here is enough, and living as if everything is already working out for you, because it is. The strength of compassion, expanding beyond the self. If you look deeply at the root of much human suffering, you will notice it often begins with self-centeredness. The mind is constantly focused on me, my desires, my fears, my possessions, my success, my pain. When life revolves only around the self, even small inconveniences feel enormous. The moment plans change, the ego feels attacked. The moment someone disagrees, the ego feels diminished. The moment circumstances don't go as expected, the ego cries out in frustration. This narrow vision creates endless dissatisfaction. Buddhism offers a path out of this prison of self, and that path is compassion. Compassion is the ability to extend your heart beyond your own concerns, to feel deeply the struggles of others, and to act with kindness and understanding. To act as if everything is working out for you means learning to live with compassion, because when you expand beyond yourself, you not only relieve the suffering of others, you free yourself as well. Compassion begins with recognition. It is the simple but powerful realization that everyone suffers. The rich and poor, the young and old, the strong and weak. No one escapes pain. Some suffer visibly, others silently, but all carry burdens in their hearts. When you begin to see this, your perspective shifts. The driver who cuts you off in traffic may be rushing to the hospital. The rude stranger may be drowning in grief. The colleague who seems distant may be battling silent fears. This recognition softens your heart. Instead of reacting with anger, you respond with understanding. Instead of adding to the weight of the world, you lighten it with kindness. Buddhism teaches the practice of karuna, or compassion, as one of the highest virtues. Compassion does not mean pity, nor does it mean weakness. It is strength, the strength to remain open-hearted in a world that often encourages hardness. It takes courage to respond to pain with gentleness, to meet cruelty with patience, to offer kindness even when it is not returned. But this strength transforms not only those you touch, but also yourself. When you practice compassion, you dissolve the walls of the ego. You realize that your well-being is tied to the well-being of others. In lifting them, you lift yourself. Compassion also brings clarity. When you are trapped in self-centered thinking, problems feel larger than they are. But when you focus on helping others, your perspective broadens. You see that your struggles, though real, are part of a greater human experience. This perspective reduces the weight of your own pain. Acts of compassion, even small ones like listening with presence, offering a smile, or extending patience, remind you that you are part of something bigger than your worries. This realization alone is healing. The practice of compassion can begin within. Many people are harsh with themselves, caught in cycles of self-criticism and judgment. They push themselves relentlessly, and when they fail, they condemn themselves more harshly than anyone else ever could. This lack of self-compassion poisons growth because it traps you in guilt and shame. Buddhism reminds us that compassion must begin at home. To truly extend compassion outward, you must first learn to treat yourself with kindness. This means forgiving yourself for mistakes, speaking gently to yourself, and honoring your efforts even when results are slow. Self-compassion is not indulgence. It is nourishment. It allows you to rise after falling, to try again after failing, and to grow without fear of your own judgment. When you practice compassion consistently, your relationships transform. Conflicts soften because compassion teaches you to listen more and argue less. Love deepens because compassion teaches you to give without always calculating what you will receive. Bonds strengthen because compassion teaches you to see beyond words and into the emotions behind them. Compassion does not mean allowing yourself to be mistreated. It includes healthy boundaries, but it changes the spirit with which you approach others. You interact not from the narrow lens of ego, but from the wide vision of shared humanity. Compassion also expands into the way you see the world. A compassionate mind cannot remain indifferent to suffering, whether it is the suffering of people, animals, or the planet itself. This awareness inspires action, not always grand gestures, but often small, steady acts that ripple outward. Planting a tree, feeding the hungry, caring for an animal, or simply showing kindness in daily interactions. All of these are expressions of compassion. In Buddhism, such actions are not seen as charity, but as the natural expression of awakening. To see clearly is to realize that all beings are interconnected, and compassion is the natural response to this realization. A life rooted in compassion also changes your sense of purpose. Many people feel lost because they search for meaning only in personal achievement. But when you dedicate yourself to compassion, meaning flows naturally. Every act of kindness, no matter how small, becomes meaningful. The smile you bring to someone's face, the relief you bring to someone's burden, the understanding you offer to someone's pain, these are victories far greater than personal gain. They create ripples of goodness that extend far beyond what you can see. This is how compassion aligns you with the truth that everything is working out for you, because every compassionate act strengthens not only the world around you, but also the peace within you. Compassion requires patience because the world will not always respond in kind. Sometimes your kindness will be ignored, sometimes it will be misunderstood, and sometimes it may even be rejected. But Buddhism teaches us to give compassion not because others always deserve it, but because it frees us from anger and resentment. By choosing compassion, you protect your own peace. You refuse to let the cruelty of others harden your heart. You continue to give, not out of weakness, but out of strength, the strength to remain gentle in a world that often forgets gentleness. Meditation on compassion, often called metta or loving kindness meditation, is a powerful practice. In it, you silently repeat wishes of well-being, not only for yourself but for others, including strangers, and even those who have hurt you. You might begin with words like, "May I be happy, may I be healthy, may I live with peace." Then you extend these wishes outward. May you be happy, may you be healthy, may you live with peace. Over time, this practice reshapes the heart. It dissolves resentment, expands empathy, and strengthens the habit of responding to the world with kindness. It reminds you that compassion is not just an idea. It is a daily practice that must be cultivated. The ultimate power of compassion is that it reveals the illusion of separation. The ego says, "I am separate. I must protect myself. I must get ahead." But compassion shows you that separation is false. Your joy is connected to the joy of others. Your suffering is connected to the suffering of others. The air you breathe, the food you eat, the shelter you live in, all of it is the result of countless beings. To live without compassion is to live in denial of this interconnectedness. To live with compassion is to align yourself with reality, to flow with life as it truly is. And when you live this way, you discover a peace far deeper than self-centered satisfaction. It is the peace of belonging to the whole. To act as if everything is working out for you is to recognize that compassion is not just a virtue, but a path to liberation. Compassion frees you from the prison of ego, from the weight of resentment, from the loneliness of self-centeredness. It opens your heart to the vastness of life, connecting you to the joys and sorrows of all beings. It teaches you that your true strength lies not in domination, but in kindness, not in control, but in care, not in hardness, but in softness. And as you live with compassion, you begin to see the world differently. Every person becomes a teacher, every encounter becomes an opportunity, and every act of kindness becomes a step toward awakening. Compassion is not something you wait to practice once your life is perfect. It is something you practice now, in the midst of your imperfections, your struggles, and your daily life. The more you practice it, the more you realize that it is not only others who are healed, it is you. In giving compassion, you receive peace. In lightening the burden of others, your own burden feels lighter. In opening your heart to the world opens itself to you. So expand beyond yourself. Soften your heart. Look at the world not only through the eyes of the self, but through the eyes of compassion. When you do, you will realize that life has always been working in your favor, because every opportunity to practice compassion is also an opportunity to awaken, to grow, and to align yourself with the deepest truths of existence. And in this practice, you will find that the greatest strength of all is not in clinging, controlling, or conquering. It is in compassion. The courage of acceptance, making peace with what is. One of the greatest struggles of the human mind is its resistance to reality. We carry within us an image of how life should be, and when reality does not match that image, we suffer. We want things to go according to our plans, people to act according to our expectations, and circumstances to bend to our desires. But life does not always cooperate with our designs. People change, plans fail, losses come, and events unfold in ways we did not imagine. The more we resist this truth, the more pain we create for ourselves. Buddhism teaches us that acceptance is the key to peace. Acceptance does not mean weakness, resignation, or passivity. It means seeing reality clearly, without denial, and making peace with what is, even when it is not what we wanted. To act as if everything is working out for you requires the courage to accept life as it unfolds, trusting that even when things are not as you wished, they are still serving your growth. Acceptance begins with seeing. Most of us do not see reality as it is. We see it through the lens of our desires and fears. We say, "This should not have happened," or "This should have lasted forever," or "This person should never have treated me this way." But should and should not are illusions of the mind. They are attempts to rewrite reality, which is already written. The truth is, what happened has happened. What ended has ended. What was said was said. Denial of this truth does not change it. It only keeps us trapped in suffering. Acceptance is the courage to look reality in the eye and say, "This is what is." That simple acknowledgement frees you from the exhausting fight against what cannot be undone. Consider the waves of the ocean. If you stand at the shore demanding that the waves stop coming, you will be endlessly frustrated. The waves will keep arriving regardless of your wishes. But if you accept that the ocean has waves, you can choose how to meet them. You may swim, you may float, you may even let them wash over you, but you stop wasting energy on demanding that the waves behave differently. Life is the same. It will bring joy and sorrow, gain and loss, beginnings and endings. You cannot stop the waves, but you can learn to meet them with acceptance. Acceptance also transforms suffering. Pain is inevitable in life, but suffering is often the result of resistance. When something difficult happens, pain arises naturally. Grief at a loss, sadness at a disappointment, frustration at a setback. But when we resist that pain, saying, "This should not be happening, I cannot accept this, I refuse this reality," the pain multiplies into suffering. It is like being pierced by two arrows. The first arrow is the pain of the event itself, and the second arrow is the suffering created by resistance. The Buddha taught that while we cannot avoid the first arrow, we can avoid the second by practicing acceptance. By saying, "This is painful, but I will allow myself to feel it, and I will let it pass." You reduce suffering and find peace even in hardship. Acceptance does not mean you stop working for change. It does not mean you passively accept injustice or remain stuck in unhealthy situations. On the contrary, acceptance gives you the clarity and strength to act wisely. When you deny reality, your actions are clouded by anger, fear, or illusion. But when you accept reality, you see clearly what can be changed and what cannot. You stop wasting energy fighting what is unchangeable, and you redirect that energy toward what is possible. Acceptance is not giving up, it is starting from truth. And truth is the only foundation on which real change can be built. Think of someone grieving the loss of a loved one. Denial prolongs their suffering. They replay the past, wishing it had been different, clinging to if only and why me. But when they finally accept the loss, they do not stop loving or remembering. Instead, they begin to make peace with the reality that the person is gone. In that acceptance, healing begins. The love transforms into memory, into gratitude, into lessons carried forward. Acceptance allows them to move from despair to peace, without erasing the pain, but without being enslaved by it either. Acceptance also applies to yourself. Many people live in constant war with who they are. They reject their flaws, criticize their mistakes, and cling to an image of who they think they should be. This self-rejection creates deep inner conflict. But acceptance means embracing yourself fully as you are, with strengths and weaknesses, with progress and imperfections. It means saying, "This is who I am right now, and I accept myself." From this foundation of acceptance, growth becomes possible. You cannot truly change what you refuse to accept. Only by embracing yourself honestly can you begin the journey toward becoming more. Another dimension of acceptance is learning to make peace with uncertainty. Much of our anxiety comes from refusing to accept that the future is unknown. We want guarantees, but life offers none. When you resist this, you live in constant worry, trying to control what cannot be controlled. But when you accept uncertainty as part of life, you stop fearing it. You learn to walk forward, even without answers, trusting that the path will reveal itself step by step. Acceptance of uncertainty brings freedom because it allows you to rest in the present instead of constantly fighting with the future. Acceptance also deepens gratitude. When you accept life as it is instead of demanding it to be different, you begin to notice the gifts already present. You see that even in difficulty, there are blessings. Even in endings, there are beginnings. Even in pain, there are lessons. This awareness shifts your focus from lack to abundance, from frustration to appreciation. Acceptance allows you to say, "This moment is enough," and in doing so, you uncover peace hidden in the ordinary. It takes courage to accept life, because acceptance requires humility. It requires admitting that you are not in control of everything, that life will not always bend to your will, and that some things cannot be changed. But this humility is not defeat, it is liberation. When you stop fighting with reality, you stop exhausting yourself. You discover a quiet strength that comes from flowing with life instead of against it. Acceptance turns struggle into serenity, chaos into clarity, resistance into peace. The Buddha once said, "Peace comes from within." Do not seek it without acceptance is the doorway to that inner peace. By making peace with what is, you release the constant tension of wishing things were different. You learn to live fully in the moment, to embrace both joy and sorrow, to trust that everything unfolding is part of your journey. Acceptance does not mean you stop dreaming, striving, or creating. It means you stop resisting what is already here. You begin your efforts not from denial, but from reality. And in this alignment, your actions become more powerful, your heart becomes lighter, and your life becomes more peaceful. To act as if everything is working out for you is to accept that what is happening now, even if it is difficult, is not a mistake. It is part of the path. It is shaping you, teaching you, and preparing you for what is to come. When you accept this truth, you stop fighting life and start living it. You move with the current instead of against it. And in that flow, you discover peace. The peace that comes not from controlling life, but from embracing it. So open your heart to acceptance. Let go of the endless battle with reality, Make peace with yourself, with others, with the uncertainty of the future, and with the unfolding of life. Acceptance does not take away challenges, but it takes away resistance. It allows you to face whatever comes with calmness, with courage, with clarity. And in that acceptance, you will see that everything, even the difficulties you once resisted, has always been working out for you. Equanimity, the art of remaining balanced in all conditions. One of the most profound qualities that Buddhism teaches is equanimity, the ability to remain balanced, steady, and calm no matter what life brings. Equanimity does not mean indifference, nor does it mean suppressing your emotions. It means cultivating a mind that is unshaken by extremes, a heart that can hold both joy and sorrow without being consumed, and a spirit that remains steady in both gain and loss, praise and blame, success and failure. To act as if everything is working out for you means to live with equanimity, because when you remain balanced, no storm can uproot your peace, and no change can rob you of your clarity. The human mind tends to swing like a pendulum. When good fortune arrives, we soar into excitement and attachment, clinging to the joy and fearing its end. When difficulties arrive, we fall into despair, believing the pain will last forever. This constant swing between extremes keeps us restless. Life begins to feel like a roller coaster, up one moment, down the next, never steady. Equanimity offers a different path. It is the practice of meeting both pleasure and pain with the same calmness, of not clinging desperately to joy nor collapsing under sorrow. It is the strength of saying, "This too is part of life. I will meet it with balance." Imagine the surface of a lake. When the winds are strong, the waves rise high. When the winds stop, the water becomes still and reflects the sky perfectly. Equanimity is like that still lake within you. No matter what winds of circumstance blow across your life, you can return to that inner stillness. The waves may rise, but they no longer drown you. You learn to observe them, to let them rise and fall, knowing that beneath them the water remains calm and clear. Equanimity is especially powerful in moments of success. Many people believe balance is needed only during struggle, but attachment to pleasure can also create suffering. When success comes, the ego clings. It says, "This must last forever. I must keep this at all costs." But life is impermanent. Success, like failure, rises and falls. If your happiness depends on success remaining unchanged, you will live in constant fear of losing it. Equanimity allows you to enjoy success fully without clinging to it. You say, "I am grateful for this moment, and I know it will pass. When it passes, I will still be at peace." This attitude frees you from the fear that shadows joy, allowing you to live with gratitude instead of grasping. Equanimity also transforms failure. Without balance, failure feels like the end. The ego collapses, believing, "I am worthless, I am ruined, I cannot go on." But with equanimity, failure becomes just another wave. You see it clearly, you learn from it, but you do not let it define you. You say, "This is a difficult moment, but it too will pass. I remain steady." This steadiness allows you to rise again, to continue walking your path without being paralyzed by defeat. In this way, equanimity gives you resilience. It prevents life's ups and downs from throwing you off course. Another area where equanimity is vital is in relationships. People will praise you, and people will criticize you. If you cling to praise, you become dependent on the approval of others. If you collapse under criticism, you become enslaved by their opinions. Equanimity frees you from this trap. It allows you to receive praise with humility and criticism with openness, without being controlled by either. You understand that both are temporary, both are reflections of others' perspectives, not absolute truths. This balance gives you freedom to live authentically, to act with integrity, and to love without fear. Buddhism teaches that equanimity arises from wisdom. It comes from understanding the impermanent nature of all things. Joy, sorrow, success, failure, gain, loss, none of them last forever. When you truly understand this, you stop clinging so tightly. You stop resisting so fiercely. You begin to flow with life instead of fighting it. This wisdom makes the mind calm, like the deep roots of a tree that remain steady even when storms shake its branches. Equanimity also grows from mindfulness. By observing your thoughts and emotions as they arise, you create space between yourself and your reactions. Instead of being swept away by anger, fear, or excitement, you notice them. You say, this is anger. This is joy. This is fear. You observe without judgment, and in doing so, you remain balanced. Mindfulness teaches you that emotions are like passing weather. They come, they go, they are not who you are. Equanimity is the calm sky that holds them all. Practicing equanimity does not mean becoming detached from life. On the contrary, it allows you to engage more fully. Without equanimity, you are tossed about by every wave, exhausted and restless. With equanimity, you stand steady, and from that steadiness, you can love more deeply, act more wisely, and live more fully. Equanimity does not numb the heart. It frees it from the chains of extremes. Equanimity also deepens compassion. When you remain balanced, you do not react to others' suffering with despair, nor to their joy with envy. Instead, you respond with calm care. You can hold space for someone's pain without being overwhelmed by it, and you can celebrate someone's success without grasping for it yourself. This balanced compassion allows you to be present for others without losing yourself. It makes you a source of peace in a world often ruled by extremes. Cultivating equanimity is a gradual practice. It begins with small moments. When someone irritates you, instead of reacting immediately, pause. When you experience joy, instead of clinging desperately, savor it with gratitude. When disappointment comes, instead of collapsing, remind yourself, this too will pass. Each of these small practices strengthens your balance. Over time, you become less reactive, less dependent on circumstances, more steady in your peace. The Buddha compared equanimity to the earth. People throw pure things and impure things onto the earth, yet the earth remains steady, unmoved. In the same way, life will throw praise and blame, gain and loss, pleasure and pain at you. But with equanimity, you remain steady. You receive them all without losing your center. This is the strength of balance. It makes you unshakable. To live with equanimity is to step off the endless roller coaster of extremes. It is to discover the freedom of balance. You stop being enslaved by circumstances because your peace no longer depends on what is happening outside. You carry your peace within, steady, constant, unchanging. This does not mean life will stop changing. It means you stop being controlled by those changes. You remain calm in joy, calm in sorrow, calm in success, calm in failure. And in that calmness, you discover a peace deeper than happiness, a peace that endures through all conditions. To act as if everything is working out for you is to live with this balance. It is to trust that both the highs and the lows are part of the path. It is to walk steadily, not swayed by praise or blame, not bound by success or failure, not broken by gain or loss. Equanimity does not make you indifferent. It makes you free. Free to love without fear, to act without attachment, to live without being enslaved by extremes. So practice balance. Practice meeting each moment with calmness, each emotion with awareness, each change with steadiness. Become like the mountain, firm, grounded, unmoved by the storms. Become like the lake, still, clear, reflecting the truth of the sky. When you live this way, nothing can shake your peace. And in that unshakable peace, you will realize that everything, truly everything, is working in your favor. Gratitude is a way of seeing, turning every moment into a gift. Among the most transformative practices in Buddhism, and indeed in life, is gratitude. Gratitude is more than saying thank you. It is a way of seeing, a way of relating to existence itself. It is the choice to focus not on what is missing, but on what is present, not on what has ended, but on what remains, not on what you lack, but on the countless gifts you already hold. Gratitude is a lens through which you discover that life, in all its complexity, is not against you, but for you. To act as if everything is working out for you means to live in gratitude, because gratitude allows you to see clearly that every moment, even the painful ones, carries something valuable. The ungrateful mind is restless. It constantly compares, complains, and chases after what is not yet here. It says, "I will be happy when I have more, when I am somewhere else, when life finally gives me what I want." But this mindset blinds us to the abundance already surrounding us. The grateful mind, on the other hand, is content. It sees blessings in ordinary things, the breath in the lungs, the sun in the sky, the food on the table, the companionship of others. Gratitude transforms what you have into enough, and it transforms even difficulties into teachers. Gratitude begins with awareness. Most of us move through life on autopilot, taking everything for granted. We eat without tasting, walk without noticing, breathe without feeling, live without appreciating. Gratitude awakens us. It calls us to stop, to look, to recognize the miracle of existence itself. Consider the simple act of breathing. You did not earn the air, nor did you create it. It is given to you freely, sustaining you every moment. How often do we pause to feel gratitude for this gift, or think of the countless people whose efforts support your daily life? The farmer who grew your food, the workers who built your shelter, the teachers who passed on knowledge, the loved ones who offered kindness. Gratitude opens your eyes to these unseen connections, reminding you that you are never alone, never unsupported. One of the profound teachings of Buddhism is that gratitude is not dependent on conditions. It is not something you feel only when life is going well. True gratitude includes joy and sorrow, gain and loss, comfort and difficulty. It is easy to be grateful when blessings are obvious. The challenge and the deeper power lies in being grateful even when life feels heavy. This does not mean denying your pain. It means recognizing that even pain can carry hidden gifts. The loss that breaks your heart may also open you to compassion. The failure that wounds your pride may also teach you resilience. The storm that shakes your life may also reveal your inner strength. Gratitude in difficulty is the ability to say, "This hurts, but I trust it is shaping me. I do not yet see the blessing, but I know it is here." Gratitude also changes the way you experience joy. When you live without gratitude, joy is fleeting. You experience it, but you are too busy worrying about the next thing to savor it. Gratitude anchors joy, allowing you to fully receive it. You notice the taste of your food, the warmth of the sun, the laughter of a friend, the peace of silence. These ordinary moments become extraordinary when touched by gratitude. Gratitude multiplies joy because it turns every moment into a gift. Another dimension of gratitude is that it dissolves envy and comparison. The ungrateful mind constantly measures itself against others, always finding reasons to feel inferior or resentful. But when you cultivate gratitude, you stop focusing on what others have and start appreciating what is yours. You realize that happiness is not found in having more than others, but in appreciating the unique blessings of your own path. Gratitude frees you from the prison of comparison, replacing jealousy with contentment. Gratitude also deepens relationships. When you express genuine appreciation for others, you strengthen bonds of trust and love. A simple "thank you," spoken with sincerity, can heal wounds and open hearts. Too often, we take people for granted, assuming they know we value them. But unspoken gratitude is like a seed never planted. When expressed, gratitude nurtures connection. It tells the other person, "I see you, I appreciate you, you matter to me." This simple act can transform relationships, turning them into sources of joy and strength. Buddhism teaches that gratitude is closely tied to mindfulness. When you are mindful, you notice the small details of life, and in noticing, gratitude naturally arises. The sound of birds, the smell of earth after rain, the touch of a loved one's hand, all of these become moments of gratitude when you are fully present. Mindfulness and gratitude are like twin practices. Mindfulness awakens you to the present, and gratitude fills the present with meaning. A powerful way to cultivate gratitude is through daily reflection. At the end of each day, pause and ask yourself, what am I grateful for today? The answers may be simple: a smile, a meal, a lesson, a moment of rest. But by noticing them, you train your mind to focus on abundance instead of lack. Over time, this practice rewires your perception. You begin to see blessings everywhere, even in places you once overlooked. Gratitude also extends to the self. Many people are quick to criticize themselves, but slow to appreciate their own efforts. Practicing self-gratitude means recognizing your progress, honoring your resilience, and appreciating your growth. It means saying, I am grateful for the way I have carried myself through challenges. I am grateful for the lessons I have learned. I am grateful for the person I am becoming. This practice softens self-criticism and nurtures self-compassion. When you live in gratitude, even challenges take on new meaning. Instead of asking, why me? You begin to ask, what can I learn from this? Instead of cursing delays, you thank life for teaching you patience. Instead of resenting losses, you thank life for showing you the impermanence of all things. Gratitude does not erase difficulty, but it transforms your relationship with it. It turns obstacles into teachers and hardships into opportunities. Gratitude also fosters generosity. When you feel full, you naturally want to share. A grateful heart says, I have been given much. Let me give in return. This giving is not forced. It flows naturally. It may be generosity of time, of kindness, of resources, or simply of presence. Gratitude and generosity feed each other. The more grateful you are, the more generous you become. The more generous you are, the more gratitude fills your heart. This cycle creates abundance not only for yourself, but for all around you. The ultimate power of gratitude is that it aligns you with the truth that everything is already working in your favor. Gratitude reminds you that even in uncertainty, there is guidance. Even in loss, there is renewal. Even in pain, there is growth. Gratitude transforms your vision so completely that you no longer ask, is life supporting me? You know it always has been. You stop waiting for perfect conditions and begin to see perfection in what is already here. To live with gratitude is to walk through life with open eyes and an open heart. It is to recognize each breath as a miracle, each challenge as a teacher, each day as a gift. It is to stop postponing joy and to begin receiving it now, in this moment, exactly as it is. Gratitude does not depend on what happens to you. It depends on how you see what happens. And when you see through the lens of gratitude, you discover that everything, truly everything, is already working out for you. Detachment from outcomes. Freedom in doing without demanding. One of the deepest sources of human suffering comes from our constant attachment to results. We live in a world that tells us our worth depends on outcomes, on success, recognition, possessions, achievements, and the approval of others. We pour our energy into goals with the silent demand that things must unfold exactly as we wish. And when reality does not meet those demands, we feel broken. We label ourselves failures. We collapse into despair, and we convince ourselves that life is against us. But Buddhism offers another path, the practice of detachment from outcomes. This does not mean apathy or indifference. It does not mean giving up your dreams or refusing to act. It means giving your best effort with full presence and sincerity, but releasing the desperate need for a specific result. It means discovering freedom in doing without demanding. Detachment begins with a simple but profound truth. Outcomes are never fully in your control. You may plan carefully, work tirelessly, and act wisely, but there will always be factors beyond your influence: timing, circumstances, other people's choices, and the unpredictable flow of life itself. When you tie your peace to something you cannot fully control, you hand over your happiness to uncertainty. Detachment frees you from this trap. It allows you to say, "I will act with commitment and care, but I will not let my peace depend on the result." This mindset brings immense freedom because you are no longer enslaved by what happens after you act. Think of a farmer planting seeds. He tills the soil, waters the ground, and tends to the field. He does everything within his power. But whether the crop grows depends on many things: the weather, the soil, the seasons. The farmer cannot command the sun to shine or the rain to fall. If he ties his happiness solely to the harvest, he will live in constant anxiety. But if he focuses on the work itself, on planting, watering, caring, he finds peace in the process. Detachment is like this. It does not mean you stop planting. It means you stop trying to control the rain. Detachment also changes the way you approach success. When you are attached, success becomes a source of fear. You may achieve what you want, but you cling desperately, terrified of losing it. Every achievement becomes another chain, because now you live in constant worry of failure. But when you practice detachment, success is enjoyed without chains. You celebrate it, you appreciate it, but you do not cling. You say, "This is wonderful, and I am grateful. If it lasts, I will enjoy it. If it passes, I will remain at peace." This attitude allows you to taste joy without the bitterness of fear. Failure, too, is transformed by detachment. Without detachment, failure feels like death. You believe it defines you, that it means you are unworthy. But with detachment, failure becomes feedback. It becomes part of the process, not the end of the path. You say, "This did not unfold as I hoped, but it does not mean I am defeated. It is simply another step. Another lesson." Detachment removes the sting of failure, allowing you to rise again, wiser and stronger. Buddhism teaches that clinging to outcomes is rooted in craving, the endless desire for things to be a certain way. This craving is like thirst that can never be quenched, because once one desire is met, another arises. Detachment does not kill desire, it transforms it. Instead of craving, you cultivate intention. Instead of saying, "I must have this outcome to be happy," you say, "I will give my best and I will trust the unfolding." This shift turns restlessness into peace. Detachment also deepens presence. When you are fixated on outcomes, your attention is always in the future. You are so focused on where you are going that you miss where you are. But detachment brings you back to the present. It teaches you to value the process itself, the effort, the growth, the lessons, rather than rushing toward the end. The artist who paints with attachment worries constantly about how the painting will be received. The artist who paints with detachment loses themselves in the act of creation, finding joy in every stroke. The difference is not in skill, but in the spirit of presence. In relationships, detachment creates freedom and depth. Many people cling to others with desperate attachment, demanding constant reassurance or control. This suffocates love. True love, rooted in detachment, is free. It says, "I love you as you are. I will not try to own you, and I will not tie my worth to your choices. I will give my love freely without demanding a specific outcome." This love is deeper because it is not driven by fear. It allows both people to breathe, to grow, and to stay together out of choice rather than chains. Detachment is also essential in spiritual practice. Many seekers become frustrated because they expect instant enlightenment, instant peace, instant transformation. They meditate with impatience, demanding results. But spiritual growth cannot be forced. It unfolds gradually, like the blooming of a flower. Detachment in practice means showing up sincerely, sitting, breathing, reflecting, without demanding immediate change. In this way, transformation happens naturally, without strain, and often more deeply than you expected. The practice of detachment does not mean passivity. It does not mean sitting back and refusing to act. Buddhism emphasizes right effort, acting with wisdom, care, and sincerity. Detachment simply means acting without clinging. You still plant the seeds, you still tend the field, you still walk the path, but you release the illusion that you can command the harvest. You act with love for the action itself, not only for the reward. This attitude makes your work lighter, your relationships freer, and your spirit calmer. Of course, detachment is not easy. The mind is conditioned to crave, to cling, to demand. At first, you may find yourself returning to old habits, worrying about results, fearing failure, clinging to success. But each time you notice this, you can gently remind yourself, I do not control everything. I control my effort, not the outcome. I give my best, and I let go. Over time, this reminder becomes natural. Slowly, detachment takes root, and you discover the peace of freedom. One of the Buddha's teachings illustrates this beautifully. Do your work diligently, without attachment to the fruits. This does not mean you ignore the results. It means you stop enslaving your peace to them. It means you give your best, not because of what you will get, but because it is the right thing to do, the loving thing to do, the wise thing to do. When you live this way, your actions become pure. They are no longer tainted by fear, greed, or desperation. They flow naturally, like a river, bringing life wherever they go. Detachment from outcomes is ultimately about trust. It is about trusting that life, in its infinite wisdom, knows what you need better than your limited mind does. It is about trusting that even when things do not unfold as you hoped, they are still guiding you toward growth, toward awakening. It is about trusting that the seeds you plant will bear fruit, not always the fruit you imagined, but the fruit you need. To act as if everything is working out for you is to live in this trust. It is to pour your heart into the present moment, to give your best with sincerity, and then to release the outcome into the flow of life. It is to say, I will walk my path, I will plant my seeds, I will love, I will act, and I will trust that whatever comes is part of the unfolding of my journey. When you live this way, you are free. Free from the chains of fear, free from the burden of control, free from the endless hunger of craving. You act with clarity, you love with openness, you live with peace. And in that freedom, you discover the truth that everything, every success, every failure, every twist of fate has always been working out for you. Living as if life already favors you. The mastery of faith in action. At the heart of Buddhism and at the heart of every path toward awakening lies a simple but powerful truth. Your experience of life depends less on what happens to you and more on how you meet what happens. Two people can walk through the same storm. One panics, curses the sky, and collapses in despair. The other walks calmly, adjusts their steps, and finds beauty in the sound of the rain. The difference is not the storm itself, but the way it is seen. To act as if everything is working out for you is to embody this second way of seeing. It is to live with such deep trust that even the storms become part of your favor, even the detours become part of your path, and even the losses carry hidden gifts. This is not naive optimism, it is faith in action. Faith in this sense is not blind belief or wishful thinking. It is an inner strength that grows from wisdom and practice. It is the quiet confidence that life, in all its complexity, is not random chaos, but a flowing river, carrying you exactly where you need to go. It is the understanding that every joy and every sorrow is shaping you, refining you, and guiding you toward awakening. This faith is not about denying hardship. It is about meeting hardship with the certainty that it is not meaningless. It is about walking with the conviction that even when you cannot see the bigger picture exists. Living as if life already favors you changes the way you act. Without faith, action is often driven by fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of loss. With faith, action becomes lighter. You still act with discipline, with effort, with focus, but without the heavy burden of desperation. You give your best, not because you are terrified of losing, but because you trust that whatever comes will serve you. This trust gives your actions power. They are no longer tainted by anxiety or clinging. They flow naturally like water finding its way downhill. Think of a traveler walking through a dense forest. Without faith, every rustle in the leaves feels like danger. Every turn feels like a trap, and every step feels uncertain. With faith, the same traveler walks steadily, calmly, trusting that the path, though hidden, leads somewhere meaningful. The forest has not changed, but the experience of walking through it has. This is the difference that faith makes in life. The challenges remain, but they no longer paralyze you. Instead, they strengthen you. Living as if life favors you also transforms your relationship with fear. Fear is often the voice that says, "What if everything goes wrong? What if I cannot handle it? What if the worst happens?" Faith does not silence fear completely, but it answers it. Faith whispers back, "Even if things go wrong, I will grow. Even if I stumble, I will rise. Even if the worst happens, I will find strength I did not know I had." Faith does not remove difficulty. It removes despair. It allows you to walk forward even with trembling hands because you know you are not walking in vain. Another profound effect of living this way is the peace it brings to the present moment. Most people live in tension between regret for the past and worry about the future. They carry yesterday's mistakes like chains and tomorrow's fears like heavy loads. But when you live as if life is already favoring you, you set these burdens down. You say, "The past has shaped me, the future will guide me, but this moment is enough." This trust anchors you in the present, where peace is always available. It allows you to enjoy life as it is without waiting for perfect conditions. Faith in action also changes the way you see setbacks. Without faith, a closed door feels like failure. With faith, a closed door feels like redirection. You begin to trust that when one path ends, it is because another, more fitting path is opening. You stop seeing rejection as proof of unworthiness and start seeing it as protection from what was not meant for you. This shift is liberating. It removes the sting of disappointment and replaces it with curiosity. If not this, then what is waiting for me? Living with faith also deepens gratitude. When you believe life is for you, not against you, every moment becomes a gift. You no longer dismiss small blessings as accidents. You see them as signs of support. The kindness of a stranger, the timing of an opportunity, even the lessons hidden in hardship, all become reasons for gratitude. Gratitude, in turn, strengthens faith, creating a cycle of peace. Faith opens your eyes to blessings. Blessings deepen your gratitude. Gratitude strengthens your faith. This way of living also empowers resilience. Life will test you. No one escapes pain, loss, or uncertainty. But when you live with faith in action, you face these tests differently. You do not collapse at the first sign of struggle. You bend, but do not break. You may stumble, but you rise again. Resilience is not about avoiding hardship. It is about enduring it with trust that it is shaping you. With faith, you see every hardship not as the end of the story, but as a chapter in your becoming. Equally important, living as if life favors you transforms your relationships. When you lack faith, you often approach others with fear. Fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of not being enough. This fear can make you cling, control, or withdraw. But with faith, you approach relationships with openness. You love without needing guarantees. You forgive without keeping score. You support without demanding in return. Faith makes you generous because you are no longer afraid of loss. You know that even if things end, you will still be supported by life itself. This openness deepens love because it removes the chains of fear. Buddhism teaches that faith, saddha, is one of the essential qualities of the path. But it is not faith in blind promises. It is faith in cause and effect, in the law of impermanence, in the capacity of the mind to awaken. It is faith that if you walk the path sincerely, if you cultivate mindfulness, compassion, wisdom, you will find freedom. This is faith rooted in practice, not in fantasy. And the more you practice, the stronger this faith becomes. Each moment of peace in meditation, each act of kindness, each insight into impermanence becomes proof that life is indeed working in your favor. To live with this faith does not mean life will always feel easy. There will still be storms, losses, and uncertainties. But it means you will never face them with despair. You will face them with trust, with steadiness, with the quiet confidence that even this, too, has meaning. You will carry yourself not as a victim of fate, but as a partner with life, walking hand in hand with its unfolding. This attitude is transformative. It changes not only how you see the world, but how the world responds to you. A trusting heart opens doors that a fearful heart never sees. So what does it look like to live as if life already favors you? It looks like waking up each day and saying, "This day is a gift. I may not know what it will bring, but I trust it is for my growth." It looks like facing challenges with courage, knowing they are teachers. It looks like working hard without clinging to results, loving deeply without fear of loss, forgiving easily without holding grudges. It looks like walking through life with calmness, with gratitude, with balance, because you trust the path. To act as if everything is working out for you is not to deny reality. It is to align yourself with it. It is to trust that reality, in its wisdom, is always shaping you, even through pain, even through uncertainty, even through change. It is to live with faith, not as a passive belief, but as active courage. And when you live this way, you discover the deepest truth. Life has always been working in your favor. Every joy, every sorrow, every detour, every delay, they have all been guiding you toward awakening, toward freedom, toward peace. So walk with this faith. Live with this trust. Let your actions reflect the belief that you are supported, guided, and carried. And in doing so, you will not only see that everything is working out for you, you will embody it, you will live it, and you will radiate it to others. This is the mastery of faith in action. 21. The middle way. Walking the path of balance in a world of extremes. One of the most profound and practical teachings of the Buddha is the middle way. From the moment of his enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, the Buddha emphasized that liberation is not found in extremes but in balance. He had experienced both extremes himself, life in a palace of wealth, surrounded by luxury and pleasure, and life as an ascetic, starving and torturing the body in search of truth. Neither extreme led to freedom. The palace brought comfort, but not wisdom. The self-denial brought suffering, but not liberation. What he discovered was that the path to awakening lies not in clinging to pleasure, nor in rejecting the world completely, but in walking the middle path, a life of moderation, awareness, and harmony. To act as if everything is working out for you means embracing this middle way in daily life. It means recognizing that extremes, whether of desire or of denial, of indulgence or of resistance, create imbalance and suffering. It means finding the steady ground between, where wisdom and peace naturally arise. The mind, however, is easily drawn to extremes. When we experience pleasure, we want more of it. We cling, we grasp, we overindulge. But the more we cling, the more restless we become, because pleasure is fleeting, it fades, and with its fading comes disappointment. On the other side, when we experience pain, we resist it fiercely, we push it away, we fight against it, we deny it. But the more we resist, the stronger it feels. Both clinging and resistance create suffering. The middle way teaches us to step out of this cycle. It teaches us to meet pleasure with gratitude, but without attachment, and to meet pain with acceptance, but without despair. Think of a stringed instrument. If the string is pulled too tight, it breaks. If it is too loose, it makes no sound. Only when it is tuned to balance does it create beautiful music. Your life is the same. Too much indulgence weakens you. Too much denial exhausts you. But balance allows your life to sing. The middle way is this tuning, the art of living with moderation, harmony, and wisdom. The middle way applies not only to external life, but also to the inner mind. Many people swing between self-indulgence and self-criticism. When things go well, they praise themselves excessively. When things go wrong, they condemn themselves mercilessly. Neither extreme is helpful. The middle way teaches self-acceptance, acknowledging mistakes without drowning in shame, celebrating successes without inflating the ego. This balance creates space for growth. It allows you to learn without fear and to act without arrogance. The middle way also reshapes your relationship with goals and ambitions. In a world that glorifies extremes, we are taught to chase endlessly. More wealth, more success, more recognition. But chasing without balance leads to burnout. On the other hand, rejecting ambition completely leads to stagnation. The middle way is not about abandoning goals, but about pursuing them with awareness. You work diligently, but you do not sacrifice your peace. You strive, but you do not cling. You act with effort, but without desperation. This balance transforms ambition into practice, turning your goals into paths of growth rather than prisons of desire. In relationships, the middle way teaches harmony. Without balance, love can easily become attachment, smothering, or dependence. On the other side, fear of pain can lead to withdrawal, coldness, and avoidance. The middle way is the path of genuine connection, loving deeply but without clinging, caring sincerely but without control, supporting others while still honoring your own boundaries. This balance creates relationships that are free, healthy, and nourishing. The middle way is also essential in dealing with emotions. Anger, fear, sadness, joy, all are natural experiences of the human heart. The extremes are either being ruled by them or denying them completely. Some people explode in anger, harming themselves and others. Others suppress anger so deeply that it poisons them silently. The middle way is to acknowledge emotions, to feel them fully, but not to be enslaved by them. You allow anger to arise, you notice it, you breathe through it, and you let it pass. You allow joy to fill you, you savor it, but you do not cling to it when it fades. This balanced relationship with emotions brings freedom. The middle way also applies to spiritual practice. Some seekers push themselves harshly, demanding instant enlightenment, sitting rigidly in meditation, punishing themselves for every distraction. Others are lax, postponing practice, making excuses, and indulging endlessly in worldly distractions. Neither approach leads to freedom. The middle way is steady practice, disciplined but gentle, consistent but flexible. It is the understanding that awakening is a gradual path nurtured by balance. This steady commitment creates real transformation because it is sustainable and rooted in compassion rather than force. Buddhism often emphasizes impermanence. All things arise and pass away. The middle way is the practical application of this truth. When you understand impermanence, you stop clinging to extremes. You no longer demand permanent pleasure or permanent avoidance of pain. You accept the flow of change, and you walk the balanced path through it. This acceptance brings peace, because it removes the desperate grasping that causes suffering. Equanimity, a quality we explored earlier, is deeply connected to the middle way. Equanimity is the calmness that arises when you are no longer swayed by extremes. The middle way is the lifestyle that cultivates this calmness. By living in moderation, by refusing to cling or resist, you create the inner conditions for equanimity to flourish. You discover that balance is not just a practice, but a state of freedom. The Buddha once described the middle way as the path that avoids the extremes of sensual indulgence and self-mortification. But its meaning extends beyond ascetics and monks. In daily life, the middle way might mean eating enough to nourish the body, but not so much that you harm it. It might mean working diligently, but not so obsessively that you destroy your health. It might mean caring for others while also caring for yourself. It is the wisdom of just enough, not too little, not too much. Walking the middle way also frees you from the illusions of society. Modern culture thrives on extremes. Extreme wealth, extreme beauty, extreme achievement. We are told we must always be more, do more, have more. But this endless striving only breeds dissatisfaction. The middle way reminds you that peace is not found in extremes but in balance. It allows you to step off the treadmill of never enough and to find contentment in enough. This is not mediocrity, it is freedom. The practice of mindfulness is one of the most powerful tools for walking the middle way. By observing your thoughts, desires, and actions, you begin to notice when you are leaning into extremes. You notice when desire is pulling you into overindulgence or when fear is pushing you into denial. This awareness allows you to adjust, to return to balance. Over time, mindfulness trains you to walk the middle way naturally without forcing it. The middle way also teaches compassion. Extremes often lead to judgment. Judgment of yourself, judgment of others. You may condemn yourself for not being perfect, or you may condemn others for not meeting your standards. But the middle way softens judgment. It reminds you that everyone is walking their path, sometimes stumbling, sometimes rising, always learning. This understanding allows you to treat yourself and others with patience, kindness, and forgiveness. To act as if everything is working out for you is to walk this middle way. It is to trust that peace is not in chasing extremes, but in living with balance. It is to recognize that you do not need to punish yourself to grow, nor indulge endlessly to live. You need only to walk steadily, with awareness, with compassion, with moderation. This path brings stability, clarity, and freedom. When you live the middle way, life itself feels lighter. You are no longer exhausted by extremes. You are no longer enslaved by craving or resistance. You walk calmly, steadily, enjoying each step, meeting each moment with balance. And in this balance, you discover that life has always been working in your favor, not by giving you endless indulgence or endless denial, but by guiding you toward the harmony of the middle way. When we began this journey, we set out to explore what it means to act as if everything is already working in your favor. Along the way, we walked through rivers of trust, stood in the stillness of the present, wrestled with attachment, embraced gratitude, practiced patience, cultivated compassion, and balanced ourselves on the middle way. Each of these lessons is not separate from the others. They are threads woven together into one tapestry, and when seen as a whole, they reveal a simple, profound truth. Life itself has always been guiding you, shaping you, and carrying you, even when you could not see it. From the very beginning, Buddhism teaches that suffering arises from our resistance to reality, our clinging, our craving, our endless attempts to control. But peace arises the moment we align ourselves with life as it is, not as we wish it to be. Every one of the 21 lessons we explored was a doorway into that alignment. They were not abstract ideas, but living practices, ways of reshaping how we see and how we live. To conclude, let us weave them into one clear message. You are not here to fight against life, but to walk with it. Think of a river once more. You cannot stop its current, but you can learn to float. You cannot command where it bends, but you can trust it will carry you forward. The act of living as if everything is working out for you is like floating on this river, not passively, but with awareness, with presence, with faith. It means letting go of the desperate need to control the water and instead allowing it to guide you toward the ocean of awakening. Look back on your own life. Can you see how events that once felt unbearable later shaped you into who you are? The rejection that forced you to grow stronger, the loss that opened your heart to compassion, the delay that placed you in the right place at the right time. All of these were not mistakes. They were part of the current carrying you forward. This is the heart of trust, understanding that even when you could not see the pattern was there. When you walk with this trust, your entire way of living changes. You stop clinging to the past because you see it as your teacher. You stop fearing the future because you know it will arrive with gifts you cannot yet imagine. You stop demanding certainty because you realize uncertainty is the canvas on which new possibilities are painted. You begin to live in the present, where peace is always waiting. Every lesson we have walked through points back to this truth. Trust the flow of life, and you stop exhausting yourself in resistance. Align with the present, and you find peace in what is here, not what is missing. Practice patience, and you discover that waiting is not wasted, but preparation. Let go of attachment, and you free yourself from chains that were always illusions. Embrace uncertainty, and you transform fear into curiosity. Walk with compassion, and you expand beyond the prison of self into the freedom of love. Balance yourself on the middle way, and you discover harmony in all conditions. Live with gratitude, and every moment becomes a gift, even the difficult ones. Detach from outcomes, and you act with freedom, not desperation. Walk with faith in action, and you realize that life has always been on your side. Taken together, these are not just lessons. They are a way of being. A way of walking through life not as a victim of circumstance, not as a slave to fear, but as a conscious partner with the unfolding of existence. The greatest misunderstanding is to believe that acting as if everything works out for you means pretending that pain does not exist. Pain exists. Loss exists. Change exists. But what changes everything is the way you hold that pain, the way you walk through that loss, the way you embrace that change. With trust, even suffering becomes a teacher. With patience, even waiting becomes peace. With gratitude, even loss becomes a reminder of the miracle of having loved. In the end, this path is about freedom. Freedom from clinging to what must pass. Freedom from fear of what has not yet come. Freedom from the illusions of control. Freedom from the endless cycle of craving and dissatisfaction. And in that freedom, you discover a peace so deep it cannot be shaken by external events. A peace that remains whether you stand in sunshine or in storm. The Buddha once described awakening as waking up from a dream. Most people live as though trapped in the dream of someday. Someday I will be happy. Someday I will be free. Someday life will make sense. But the moment you act as if everything is already working out for you, you wake up. You realize that someday is now. That life has always been working in your favor, not in the way of granting every desire, but in the way of giving you exactly what you need to grow, to awaken, to love, to become free. So what do we do with all of this? We live it. We practice it. Not perfectly, not all at once, but moment by moment. When fear arises, we remember trust. When impatience arises, we remember patience. When clinging arises, we practice letting go. When despair arises, we turn to gratitude. These practices are not theories to admire, but tools to use. They are the art of living. And slowly, as you practice, something remarkable happens. You stop waiting for life to prove itself to you. You stop asking, will everything work out? And instead, live with the certainty, everything is already working out. This certainty does not come from external evidence, but from inner wisdom. It comes from seeing that no matter what happens, you can remain steady, you can remain free, you can remain at peace. This is the gift of the path. This is the gift of walking with the spirit of Buddhism, with mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom. It is the gift of no longer being tossed about by the changing tides, but of becoming the calm within them. So as you leave these lessons and step back into your daily life, carry this truth with you. Every moment is your teacher, every challenge is your guide, every breath is your gift. Trust the journey, trust yourself, trust life. Act as if everything is working out for you, because in the deepest sense, it always has been, and it always will be. And in this realization, you are free.